Frost is my name.
When I pull up on a hater, watch a hater fall back. I'm too good with these hands, watch a hater fall flat. If I die, all I know, I'm a motherfucking legend. It's so great for my city. I'm the realest one that's reppin'. Oh my God, if I die, I'm a legend. When they lay me down to rest, I know I was always reppin'. Oh my God, my whole life, my words been my greatest weapon. I know I been the coast's greatest blessing. Better recognize a king when he rapping with you. You hoes suck, it's like you always bring a vacuum with you. Solid like a mannequin, but you ain't plastic, is you? Cause if you got a bone to pick, I got a matching issue. Talking about me, then it gotta be lies. Cause I never get a tag or a chance to reply. If you don't got the courage to mention me, then you can fuck yourself with your phone until the battery dies. I mean, you mad at me, why? Cause I had to be fly. 2 albums in a year and I can't even try. Tried to fill my shoes, then you had to resize. I'm the king on the throne, bitch, is where I reside. When I pull up on a hater, watch a hater fall back. I'm too good with these hands, watch a hater fall flat. If I die, all I know, I'm a motherfucking legend. It's so great for my city. I'm the realest one that's reppin'. Oh my God, if I die, I'm a legend. When they lay me down to rest, I know I was always reppin'. Oh my God, my whole life, my words been my greatest weapon. I know I been the coast's greatest blessing.
Long haul, baby. Long haul, baby.
Don't get your kids to watch this. But yeah, hey, welcome everybody, and it is Political Jargon with the Dargun, and I am your host for tonight. That is Vash Lancet, the Token Dargun. I also have Madlib with me, obviously. I mean, since he's gonna be gracious enough for me to be a, host a little thing. But yeah, he's with us. If not in the area, he's with us in spirit apparently, because Madlib.
I'm still here.
Oh, okay, no. Good, cool.
Welcome everybody. Thank you very much. This is Scream here with Vash as the host. How are you doing tonight, sir?
I'm doing great. We got a nice panel going, and a decent amount of start out views. That's awesome. Hopefully everybody liked the intro music. I know rap's not everybody's thing, but I think that it's pretty self-explanatory why I chose that one. Because, I mean, Madlib was like, hey, man, I like rap, and I was like, well, I mean, like, what kind of intro are you wanting? He goes like, man, I want something like Tupac. I was like, you know what? I got something for you, so.
Yeah, if we did Tupac, fuck all y'all or something, then we'd probably be in trouble right now. Yeah. Same with the Blues Brothers. That was the other way I wanted to go.
Oh, yeah, I mean, we got to wait a couple more years for Blues Brothers, though. Just a few more years.
Lucci's been dead for almost 2 decades. Like, how long do we have to wait?
The copyright, of course. And we got to make sure that nobody buys the copyright at the end of that. Disney, looking at you. You guys are very, very notorious about that. But also, I'll go ahead and introduce the rest of the cast. With us, we have Jensen Quinn.
Hello, everybody.
We also have an MC. Well,
Yeah, I do believe he said he had to step away for a couple minutes.
oh yeah,
we also
yeah. He had to make sure that
Sorry, I was going to tell you that, but
yeah
sorry.
he had to go and do some like you know 007 shit, I guess. But for the less interesting people, I guess we got Unholy Mole.
Yeah, yeah. Well, the less political, let's call it that.
Yeah. But I figured everybody. I wasn't able to pay my respects to the guy of the meme, so I decided to make sure that everybody could see it on this stream. So R.I.P. buddy. But let's take a look at the chat real quick. Whoa, the chat has exploded.
Hey, frustrated. What's up, buddy?
Hell, all the Mad Yankees live stream got a facelift.
the mad.
Oh, I had a question for frustrated anyway. Since you've been here,
Yeah.
frustrated. Would you like to make fun of AIG tomorrow at some point with me?
Well, we'll just wait. Is that a mole I hear? Yes, it is a mole.
Yeah, it is. Oh, sorry, my mic was way the fuck up on my head. What I was saying was, would frustrated like to make fun of Answers of Genesis tomorrow? I'm gonna look at some silly articles.
Damn it, you guys! I left porn for this.
I guess so.
Well, I mean, you got the #1 meme right up there. Damn it. That's the #1 meme.
There you go, frustrated atheist. You got a promotion. You now have a wrench. Don't abuse it, you son of a bitch. No, I'm kidding. Leaving porn for this. Did you at least finish? I mean, God damn it.
I want to know why you can't watch porn and talk to us at the same time anyway.
And he says, "Shalom, Jensen." I guess we do have.
He's actually still whipping one off right now.
We do have Jews in these news.
Jews in the news?
Yeah, we apparently have the Jews in the news, so that's awesome. We're filling that void.
Hell yeah.
Alex Jones was in D.C., right? He's obviously Jewish.
Yeah. But I came across this one article, and we'll go ahead and start it off with something pretty light. 15-year-old girl in Kentucky spends 6 days in juvenile detention after wearing a T-shirt to class that protested her high school dress code. And the T-shirt shows, "Do my shoulders turn you on the front. And then on the back it says, "If so, go back to the 1920s." What do you guys think?
I think that's witty and fucking hilarious, and she should never have got suspended for that. I would have gave her a prize. Witty.
Yeah, I mean that was clever.
I thought that was fucking clever and awesome, and that she should be commended for it.
Yeah. Like, I mean, let's look into this a little bit. I don't really want to just read it word for word. So, she was first violation incident. She was stopped by her principal for wearing a shirt that exposed her shoulders. And she basically violated the dress code twice. So then she decided
If you
to.
violated the dress code, I can see you being punished. That's understandable. They do have a dress code, and you agreed to dress by that dress code when you go to school there. What?
No, you don't. Wait, go to school.
If your parents
You have to go.
and they have a dress code, they agreed for you to go by the dress code. I almost guarantee it, dude, that there's
So my libertarian is showing.
as you agree to all school
No,
rules, you know what I mean?
No, you don't agree to go to school. If you don't go to school, your parents get arrested, for God's sake. Is that a
Does that
fucking
make sense?
compact?
Yeah.
I don't think it is.
No?
Go ahead, Mole. Defend your position.
Jacob goes, "Psh, elbows is where it's at," and frustrated atheist says, "Such a hussy with her shoulders showing."
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I don't think I can. I don't think I can take that. You know, just just shoulders. Oh, don't show me ankle. Oh yeah, ankles too. Holy shit.
To make a Catholic school joke here.
Just so there.
I mean, like, I understand if it was like a mini skirt or something, or like, you know, something like that. But you know, if somebody's wearing like I used to get shit for wearing the wife beater tank tops, to be honest. And I'm a dude. Like, it was kind of. I honestly think that this is kind of fucked.
No, all jokes aside, okay. So, are we
Can
going
you
to
guys
get
hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. I
it
think.
wears a bearing shirt to school or sargon of Akkad or something? Like, I mean, how far are we going to take this bullshit?
Yeah, Atima, we were talking about the school dress code and how apparently showing shoulders is provocative. This was on MSN.com, by the way, for anybody that wants to know the news media site. I made sure that it was shown pretty well. I'm just going to keep scrolling through for those that actually want to read the article along with us. I've been speed reading so far. Oh, it's a Christian County public school. Christian County Public Schools released a statement to multiple media outlets about its dress code following the incident involving Isabella.
Is that the name of the county, Christian? Or is it like it's a Christian school in a county?
I don't know. That's why I'm going to go ahead and quote them.
I'm sorry. I couldn't hear you guys for like 5 minutes. Like, fucking, I lost sound of everybody.
It's okay. But let's see here. Rux criticized the school district for having a dress code.
Sorry, go ahead, Ash. I'll talk to him another way.
Let's see here. Rux criticizes the school for having a dress code that controls what a girls wear to school. I honestly believe that it is not fair to make girls cover up so they don't distract the boys at school, she said. I don't think that's fair. I think that the boys should be taught to treat women with respect and that they're not a piece of meat. Now let's see here. In reality, let's see here. In reality, that is what started all of this. Our young girls, if they like the way they look and are happy with their bodies and themselves, why be forced to cover it up? Why disrupt their education because it might distract a boy?
Real quick though, weren't they complaining about 5 years ago about women not being secure in their own fucking appearance?
Dude, don't complain about anything.
So basically, they're okay. I'm guessing that she wore like a spaghetti strap tank top or something, and they're all like,
out of the house.
You know what? The funny thing is like them girls could go to school wearing fucking like floor-length dresses and fucking like sleeves down to their fucking fingertips, teenage boys get turned on by a stiff wing.
Yeah, pretty much.
You know what I mean? I mean, like a stiff wind is all it takes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
God damn it, Hole.
it's something, but yeah, I don't understand it's distracting the boys. My attention span was not the highest whenever I was in school, and trust me, I was a bright kid back then. I was like,
Back then you were?
I mean,
fucking
I've
liar.
lost a lot of brain cells since then. I've done my fair share of drugs, but
I've done your fair share, Mad's fair share, a couple fair shares.
yeah. But it's still, I don't know. But let's see
Oh,
here.
real quick though, Jensen Quinn, would you guys put up this bullshit in Great Britain? I mean, you put up a lot of bullshit, all right? Trucks of peace, butter knife bans.
Right.
Yeah.
I can honestly say, sod that, mate. People wore whatever the fuck they wanted to. They were lucky if they actually had this in any sort of uniform.
Crap weed that he has to deal with.
Oh, fuck yeah. Very crap weed.
I wish I could mail you a pack. Yeah.
So do I, dude. So do I. It's dry down here.
Huh.
Jacob says he wishes to still get a hard one from seeing women dressed in old-fashioned swimsuits. I suppose you could if that's all you had to look at for a few years. I'm sure you'd do it.
Okay, and also from what else I'm seeing, that she apparently, this is another question that's in the article. I just reread this and scanned through. Apparently, she was arrested. Okay, no 15-year-old can be trained in self-defense. I don't like that phrase. Whenever somebody is saying that, it's like, I believe that should be like a certain belt if you're trained
Right.
in self-defense. So I don't like the way
Right.
that they said
Like
that.
white, yellow, blue, green, that kind of thing.
Yeah, like, specify what area of training, like how much, because, just saying trained. But apparently the resource officer was taking the phone from behind her back, after putting her in handcuffs and bringing her to his office. After they already had her in handcuffs and she was sitting in the chair in the officer's office in the school, they had realized that she still had her phone behind her back with the cuffs on. That's when they came after her again. The first time they left red marks on her neck, her chest, her arms, everything. When they came at her a second time, she put her foot up to kind of stop him from coming after her again, and that's where she got the assault on an officer charge. Okay, I'm thinking that at this time, she was then arrested for disorderly conduct, a resisting arrest, and third-degree assault, and was taken to the Regional Juvenile Detention Center, where she stayed for 6 days. And this is all over a fucking dress code.
Well, that's ridiculous. Did you hear about that girl that recently got 10 days of jail for fucking truancy? And then she got expelled because she fucking missed school because of jail. Does that make any fucking sense?
That's somebody that they're going after and they're wanting to fucking ruin their life.
Yeah, that's absurd.
Like, you have to try with that. And hail Cabby. Cabby's in there? Yeah,
no,
awesome.
I'm wondering why Cabby's not here in Discord joining us, but whatever.
MC2, Cabby's in the motherfucking hills.
MC, what do you think about it? Did you see the picture of that girl, like that T-shirt? How is
Yeah.
that even fucking bad at all?
I'll go ahead and scroll it up for you. There you go. But yeah, I mean, I think that she might have been a little bit more smug about it than she should have been. But like, I like it. I think that that was actually a pretty good, you know. It was very passive aggressive, but it was creative.
Yeah, that shirt is fucking over the top, man. Like, whew. She should have wore a trench coat over that.
It's
Something.
not necessarily over the top.
I'm
right.
joking. I was being sarcastic. I mean,
At the
it's
same
fucking
time,
T-shirt.
all right, the thing of that people have to realize is school is not a freaking free-for-all.
That's what I tried to say, and they all yelled at me. If a school has a dress policy and your parents sign you up there, they agreed that you will follow school rules.
Well, yeah.
Correct?
Because
for
school
you to
is
go out there
school is
and-
society in miniature form.
But am I wrong? Am I wrong in
you're-
thinking that?
No, you're not wrong. You're just an asshole.
Oh, okay. I'm used to that.
No, but there's a point that you're not going to school so that you can be an individual. That's not what you're there for. It's just like the same thing. You don't go to basic training and go through basic training to be an individual.
Yeah, yeah. Like,
I'm not
oh,
trying to say that you lose your individuality. But if somebody says, hey, I find this inappropriate, and they're the adult in the school,
right.
and you're
Then
the
you have to
child,
listen. Right.
right.
Wait a minute, though, MC.
Oh.
Look at the dress code if you're looking at like a Catholic school. What? A skirt and a fucking T-shirt or whatever. What's a goddamn T-shirt? Why exactly is that bad?
If it
Just
wasn't
wear
part
a
of her dress
t-shirt.
code.
She didn't just wear a T-shirt, a billboard.
Yeah, it was a
billboard.
passive aggressive protest, but it was
Yeah,
still
it was.
passive aggressive.
But it still wasn't school policy. I mean, she wasn't following the dress code. That's what
But-
it boils down to.
The thing is I personally think that the school went too far, and you know, yes, she should be able to do that. And you know what? That's how people should protest, is peacefully. But
Yeah.
To be able to do that.
yeah, Atima the Hun says, but based upon location, one doesn't have any choices in terms of education. There is
Well, I
no
wanted to
other
know why
option available.
you think that she should be allowed to do
You
that.
know, you do have a couple choices.
Yeah. She could go
So
to
you
public
have
school.
where my kids go to is a charter school. Choice. There's also military school, which is a private school. If you can afford it, then you have that choice as well. Now, if you're somebody in a lower tax bracket, so to say,
Even if this is a public school, even if this is a public school,
Because this is still America. Yeah.
care if it's still America. You are a child. You are going there to learn. It is up to the adults that you assign to that school to determine what's the best environment for these students to learn.
Mhm.
Not for an environment that for them to create it as they see fit.
I
Keep it
agree.
allowed-
I agree to that. Because right now, what we're dealing with in the colleges currently is the same, the basically kind of the same fight, I think.
The dark one has arrived.
Oh shit!
Which dark one?
It's the hoodie demon. That is fucking
hey,
awesome. It's thank you for coming. And
The Edge Lord himself has arrived. How's everybody doing? Also, Madlib, DM me a link to the stream. My D&D group wants it.
Oh, here.
Yeah.
Also, tell them to enjoy the intro music. I think it was pretty cool.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
But
Mm.
yeah,
My point is that there is people who got it in their heads. Schools were, especially high school, public high schools, were somehow these factories where people were losing their individuality at. It was never the case. Okay, the schools were not threatening to take away children's, individuality. They weren't being run like military schools. If you want to compare it to what was going on in the 40s in Japan, where they were regimented and they were segmented and they was dressed just like you were in the military, then you would have a case. Yeah, that public high schools, all right, should be run like free-for-alls and run by the children. We got this in our head, and it's gotten out of control.
No.
I mean, how much do these kids have to put up with? Clear backpacks, fucking metal detectors and shit. I mean, how much exactly are we supposed to?
That's apples and oranges, though. I mean,
Well, I mean, also you gotta factor in that because of the way government schools are run, they have to deal with the fucking. I'm assuming this is being brought up in regards to public schools not being safe, since we're talking about clear backpacks and metal detectors.
Oh no! It started
they're
with.
talking about a girl got in trouble for wearing a shirt to school that wasn't part of her dress code.
Yeah, the
And
girl
it's
that's
to a
in
private
the
school.
pictures on the screen right now as well.
But what I'm trying to tell them is, if you go to a private school, your parents agree, they sign a contract that you will follow school rules.
Mm-hmm.
Plain and simple.
I agree with that.
You know?
I mean, in the context of the private sector, yeah.
Right. I mean, public schools, yeah, I would be like, fuck that. This is public school. You can wear whatever you want. Well, within reason.
Well, yeah.
I don't even think it's within I don't think if a public school wants to establish a specific dress code, then let them establish.
Well,
a
I mean,
specific dress code.
I meant like kids wearing shirts.
Talk about public school. You're looking at what, $4,000 per child in the school. They won't even let you transfer your kid without somebody else being traded over, pretty much, because they want that fucking taxpayer money. Don't give me that shit, MC.
Not to mention
Hold
the
on
amount
here,
of
that is due to the unions not wanting to sit up there and actually trying to prevent that kind of stuff, because they're the ones who want the money. Let's be perfectly honest here, right? The school systems,
true.
Have been infected with this crap for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, when you start coming back and saying decorum and we don't want messages aside from possibly a school message on our gear, right? If the only thing that they said is
wasn't it started like before the No Child Left Behind bullshit?
this what did get begun long before that.
Yeah.
All right, but the idea that you can that they want to turn these schools, or that students want to sit up there and run the asylum, that never should have been tolerated. People said we need to listen to the children about this education. Next thing you know, the children are determining what's best to run these schools. That's not the case.
Yes, you don't let lunatics run asylums, do you?
It's yet another bullshit form of democracy where people think that, oh, just because we're at the bottom, we know what's best. It's like, no, what's best for people on the bottom tends to not be best for people on the top. So when the people on the top can't do the thing they need to, the whole fucking shit gets cut off at the knees. It just gets roundhouse kicked until the whole fucking thing collapses. And that's why schools are such shit nowadays. I mean, how many times nowadays have they fucking, you hear about, oh, well, no kids are passing anymore, so instead of actually upping actually putting real money towards finding out new ways to teach children rather than talking at them, we're just going to lower the passing grade and continue to let the IQ of the country of the country slip 5 more points every fucking generation.
All they're doing is dumbing us down even more and more and more. And I mean, the rest of the world already fucking thinks Americans are idiots.
And on top of that, it's like, that opens a completely another route that's really fucking dangerous. Hey, 4-year-old, you can't sit still like every fucking 4-year-old is clearly known to be able to do. Here's some fucking medication forced down your throat.
Yeah, that's ridiculous, isn't it?
Yeah.
Those things fucking completely change the way your brain works.
You know what that is fucking, the teachers want the kids drugged up because they don't want to fucking do real work. They don't want to
undereducated, over-medicated. Yeah, that's pretty much how they want society.
Exactly. And they're dumbing down our fucking youth.
Yeah,
They're
and,
dumb.
And this kind of
This
kind of goes down.
worse.
This kind of goes down the route of conspiracy, so I won't go too far into this. But
Yeah, but I mean,
how many school shooters again have tested positive
Right.
for things like ADHD medication?
right. I mean, yes, that's conspiracy route, but that's not like fucking Illuminati type conspiracy. That's a believable
Yeah, that's true.
conspiracy. You know what I mean?
I mean, like that.
But also with the dumbing down, who was that lady that came out? She was an ex-teacher. You know, she'd been in the education system for you know, like all her life. Whistleblower. You know, sort of explaining all of the failures and what's going on in the schools. And the book was called The Dumbing Down of America.
Well, what the problem is that they've stopped looking to try to raise excellence. Like, you know, it used to be back in like the 70s and 80s, you were expected to strive to achieve what the goal was or the standard was for the school, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah,
Well,
I mean,
somewhere
fucking.
around,
Oh, go ahead.
sorry. I would say somewhere around the 90s, like the 80s or the 90s, like at the end of the 80s, beginning of the 90s, they changed that mentality from instead of striving because this is hard, we're going to lower the bar and we're going to make sure the lowest common denominator is always brought up.
Yeah, but that's the problem. They're making the lowest common denominator the average.
Yeah,
Right.
Which is like at that point, where the fuck is the lowest common denominator going to be?
Yeah.
Right.
When I was at school, what they used to do was you would have like an A grade would only be for say the top 8, you know, like the top 8% of scores. So if you were in the top 8%, then you get an A. Then you'd have a banding for B's and then C's and D's. So it was a scaled way of actually getting graded.
Right. It's grading on a curve now is what they do.
Yeah.
They like take an average and then they grade on a curve that way. And that's not fair to the people that bust their ass and actually do a good job and that are actually smart.
Well,
You know
also,
what I mean?
You
I'm
need
not
to
saying
take it
that,
out of the equation
you know what I mean?
entirely.
That's not fair,
It's-
you know?
if you
It's another
if you got
form-
an A
it's
grade,
another-
it meant something. An A used to actually mean something. Now everyone gets it.
Right.
It means
But
nothing.
I mean, I guess that's one
Yeah.
more way for the government to fucking have sheeple, you know? If people
Yeah,
don't
basically-
It's affecting activity. It's
Oh, go
affecting
ahead.
business because
That's what I'm saying. It's
the
affecting
businesses
everything.
they don't. You know, they're coming in saying we need these particular qualifications, and everyone's got it. Then how do they differentiate between the applicants?
See, I obviously don't support any politicians giving my political stance, but that's one of my biggest fucking problems with Trump. He keeps talking about jobs, we're gonna bring jobs back. Who gives a fuck about jobs? You don't have people smart enough to operate these jobs.
Right. Work on the education. They didn't give us
I disagree with Steven Crowder on a lot of shit, but one of the things I wholeheartedly agree with, your parents grew up without a federal Department of Education, and it shows because most of your parents are smarter than you.
Right.
When you start talking about you know, jobs and so forth, a lot of these jobs that he's trying to bring back are manufacturing jobs, and if you fail at doing that, you know, you can end up freaking hurting yourself and being dead.
Well, yeah, but also
Manufacturing back in the way that it used to be, like when you're dealing with lathes, when you're dealing with milling machines and certain aspects and stuff.
Not to mention nowadays, factory jobs and shit like that, in a way, it lowers the glass ceiling for everybody.
Yeah.
Right.
too. It's I mean, it's okay, as you said, if you've got the skilled people, but that doesn't require a university degree. That requires apprenticeships. You know, different form of education that you need to implement if you're going to do that.
Yeah, I mean, ever since Common Core was implemented into America, the whole fucking education system's been a piece of shit. It probably started a lot before then, but...
I disagree. Yeah, it started before that. It really did.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I did, but I just graduated high school last year, so I mean, that's where I really started to notice it.
Right. Well, you
Fun fact, just about my high school in California, it was fine pre-Michelle Obama, but post-Michelle Obama, the food we were getting served started to get really, really shitty. I did a little research. A lot of public schools in California get shipped the same food they feed fucking prisoners.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I've heard that.
They
I've
spend
heard about
67 cents on food per prisoner.
So do you get the gray mystery meat and all that, all the real prison food?
Oh yeah, we got
Oh,
grade A mystery meat.
gross,
We got
gross.
burgers that when you unwrap them, they fucking fall apart because you can tell it's not real meat, it's processed meat. And for
Oh,
breakfast, we got those like 5 pancakes that come in a bag. But you
yeah.
kids at my school used to get into fucking wars with those because you pull them out and you can drive a fucking nail with the bastards.
That's generally
Yeah, they
that's
did microwave like 4 times.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like
Yeah, you do.
What'd you say, Cabby?
pink slime, you know, and it also tastes like
Yeah.
it's had because it's been bleached as well, so you can taste the sort
Right.
of weird. Yeah,
I
that's
think I'd rather-
it's horrible shit.
I think I'd rather take the pink slime than whatever the fuck I was getting served.
Right.
I can. Looking back, I didn't eat breakfast or lunch at my school in 4 fucking years of going there because it grossed me
can't-
out that badly.
I bet you 75% of the meat that was fed to you in school was not meat at all. I bet it was some kind of soy product.
It probably
Did you
was.
guys have That's what I remember from school, elementary school. It was the
Did we have
square sponge fucking pizza.
Oh god, yeah, that's what we got. It's fucking bottom. It tastes more like spray painted cardboard than pizza.
I loved the pizza in school, but that was fucking 25, 30 years ago. So
Yeah, and
Might
more
have been
importantly, it was
different.
pre-Michelle Obama.
yeah, I mean, I'm talking back in the fucking Reagan administration.
Not to mention, there was an article I read, and I just got suspicious about this because of the odor that would come off from all the meat that kids got served, and I would watch people eat and be like, how the fuck, man? But there was an article. A prison got in some shit in my, that was actually not far away from my school, quote unquote, accidentally feeding the prisoners dog food. Instead of,
how do you
meat.
accidentally feed anybody dog food?
Yeah.
Here's what pisses me off. In that same article I read about the 67 cents per food or per prisoner for food, they spend $1.19 on dog food every day. So it's it's not like it would be cheaper.
They wonder why there's an 85% recidivism rate, dude. They don't get no rehabilitation in prison. They're fucking locked up like animals and treated like.
And see, like, that's fine, but if you're gonna do that, make prison for people like pedophiles and rapists who deserve to be locked in cages and treated like animals.
Not drug law criminals, like them people should.
I've always said that people with like, if alcoholism is a disease, then drug addiction should also be treated like a disease. But let's rein it back real quick, because I did promise John Doe that I would bring this up. He says about the going back to the dress code part. There is a problem with the arguments. There is no proof that these off-dress codes cause distractions and hinder learning. Dress codes also are also an attempt to equalize and prevent outcasting of kids over clothes.
Yeah. Well, see, Vash.
That's
again,
right.
this is gonna kind of go down the road of like believable conspiracies, but it's not about that at all. What they're doing is they're hammering it into your head at a young age that you do not question authority and that you just let it fuck with you.
Yeah.
Become part of the machine.
Yeah, I can agree to that. I can agree to that.
They're producing corporate slaves.
Yeah.
That is not the purpose of school, and education shouldn't turn you
No,
up
that's not the purpose of school itself, but I'm saying that they're working in ways to do that.
Problem with school environments aren't because students are overly disciplined.
Yeah, school's not the same as it was 20 years ago.
You sit up there and say that the problem that they're having is that they're part of some corporate masters somewhere and that they're following the line. Not in the United States.
Yeah, the absolute saddest fucking reality about public school is that after being put through the machine for 12 years and not coming out worth more than minimum wage, what they've successfully drilled into your head above all else is that it's not public school that sucks, it's education itself that sucks, and they've set you up for failure when they've done that.
Yeah,
Well, no.
the educational paradigm itself should be shifted from what we have currently. I personally believe that, and do agree with Hoodie on this, where the educational system, what we are learning these days are actually a bit outdated for what we need to learn for the modern day.
But
Get
I think you're
Oh, you
learning.
stuck on
sort
your
of,
bloody
sort of.
vape, please. Fucking loud. I got headphones on, man.
Okay,
Wait.
so
Hmm.
Matt,
ahead,
you've been
Kevin,
trying to
go
say
ahead.
something. Well, I was gonna say I'm pretty much I'm against any kind of restrictive dress code like this.
Fuck's sake,
Um,
Hoodie. Yeah.
What?
I'm very much against dress codes that are like this because we live in America, and just because they're kids doesn't mean that they don't have access to the First Amendment. Because we have other precedent that say that kids have access to the First Amendment, especially for things like legality and being in public spaces, right?
Fundamental argument.
What?
Do they have access, or even the
Well,
second until
Well,
they're
we would
adults?
have to go down the line. Like, do children have self ownership? Because I think if we're going to go down that road, it has to be looked at by a
No.
case by case basis.
No,
Well,
this is I'm talking legal precedents, okay?
Well,
Kids
I'm
are-
talking like if we're going to make it function. That's all.
Okay, I'm just talking about we already have legal precedents that says that kids are allowed to have freedom of speech, and attached to freedom of speech is freedom of expression. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So
But
freedom of
they
expression.
don't have that necessarily,
But
right?
wait.
There are limits in place, all right, for when they can use
Can
it
I
and when
finish?
they can't.
Can I finish? And
Yeah,
you keep
Yeah.
interrupting me
Let's
and
let's let Atima finish,
Okay.
and Hoodie also just try and move away from your mic a little bit whenever you get that vape. Also, what flavor you got, man?
Oh, strawberries and whipped cream.
Oh, cool. All right, go ahead and
Yeah,
go
sorry
ahead and
about that.
finish, Atima. Sorry about
Mute
that.
button.
Okay. So they do have legal access to this right. So an education system should show them how to properly utilize that right, correct?
Mhm.
So they can learn how to speak publicly within the
correct.
confines of being a person with freedom of speech and freedom of expression. One of the best ways to do that is to set not restrictive, well, okay, restrictive, but not restrictive enough that the kids feel the need to buck. Because as soon as the kids feel the need to buck, you're no longer teaching them the importance of following the law. So
I agree.
Problem-
Oh, sorry.
The problem team is there with
No,
that.
no, but
and
the-
I don't disagree.
hold on.
Hold on,
Who's
she's
gonna-
what you
she's
do-
wrapping it up. She's wrapping it up.
Fuck. So what you do is you give them the boundaries necessary to learn how to properly express their freedom in a way that is going to be concise, rational, reasonable, and interesting. And the best place to do that is among their peers. Yes? So if you have
Absolutely.
freedom of expression rules in place that are fairly loose, you end up with a better communicating society. What we have right now is a series of dress codes and restrictions on kids that are actually stifling their ability to physically communicate with each other.
Absolutely.
This attaches to that.
I just totally disagree with you.
At that.
And I'll give you the reasons why. One of the problems that's happening with what's going on here is this kind of crap isn't just being pushed, all right, by the students coming up with what they want. Their parents, all right, and this is they're doing this to make a statement within that school. The school is not there, all right, for them to be allowed to make social statements. All right, it isn't just a place for them to learn about, freedom of expression and everything else. It's there for them to learn other things that they're trying to put across.
Would it be bad?
Well, yeah,
if-
but that doesn't mean they
Well,
have to
hold
be.
on.
That doesn't
Hold
mean
on.
a school has to go under legalism.
But wait, hold on. Wait.
Hear you, man,
What?
Dodge, you know.
Funds a school.
Theft.
What? Taxes? Yes. Public funds? It is called
That's what
a
I said, theft.
public school?
Yeah, same thing.
Yes.
Right.
So, on public grounds, the government-owned school cannot suppress the right to free speech.
No, but we're talking about a private school. Private school.
Yeah.
Okay, well, private schools can do whatever they want.
Exactly.
I was gonna
That's what I'm
say,
trying to
Tema,
say.
Well,
I
my
agree
point is
with you
very
whole-
simple. That if you come back and say everything is an expression of freedom of speech, all right, then you have literally, all right, said that everything goes in these schools and there's no disciplinary action
I
that can
didn't
take
say
place.
everything.
Uh,
Why are you
that's a
getting
sli-
hyperbolic
But then it comes
about
down to, well,
That's
but
a
everything
slippery
can be
slope.
applied that way. You can
There's a
apply
difference
anything
between
to that.
Wait a minute. There's a difference.
But there's a difference between freedom of expression and calls to action. Like, freedom of expression is wearing a Taliban shirt to the airport. A call to action is screaming bomb at an airport. One is okay, the other is not. That doesn't mean it's going to devolve into, like, a free-for-all. And I was going to say, Tema, I agree with everything you're saying, and I think it's interesting you bring all that up because that's how a lot of private schools work, and it showed that kids learn better when they're less restrictive. But the thing I think you're not missing the point on, but like the thing that's you're not picking up on, I guess, public schools nowadays aren't designed to do that. They're designed to teach kids to be obedient to authority from a very young age.
We're talking about private schools. Make your mind up. Is it a private school or is it public?
The article said.
Well, she was talking about public at
school.
first.
Yeah, it was Christian County Public Schools, so I was under the impression we were talking about public schools.
Yeah.
A private
Yeah,
school, they
right.
can do whatever they want. It's private.
Public schools, the problem in these public schools isn't that these children, all right, don't have enough freedom of expression. The problem is that they're out of control, and that there's literally no standards being applied to them, whether
They're out of control because when you try to lock an animal in a cage of any kind, whether it be physical or mental, they're going to lash out and be rebels.
Yeah.
What happens when you tell it?
They're being pushed because they're being pushed by the socialization, saying that whatever they do is good.
What happens when you tell a teenager not to do something, MC?
They're gonna do it.
Yeah, they'll do it just to spite you at that point. So it's like
Out of the school. That simple. There are consequences for actions.
Okay.
Of course, but you can't have a zero standards or zero tolerance policy. I mean, kids who come from the upper class are going to be a lot less likely to go around starting fights than kids from the lower school. Or from the lower communities. If you just kick the poor kids out of school for starting fights, how are they ever going to get better?
What makes you say that?
The fact that violent crime
You just sit up there
fucking.
and said that students that students are like teenagers are going to sit up there and rebel. Okay, so you're telling me that the students coming from rich families are less likely to rebel than the students that are coming from poor families? I totally disagree with that statement.
Actually, no, they are less likely
That's not
because
even
they have
fucking.
two parents in the home and they have a full-time stay-at-home parent usually. Honestly,
Well, I
that
mean,
is why, because they have somewhere
I
else that
was
they
going-
can vent that frustration, and they have a different kind of structure at home. Now,
Exactly,
all
and
of
let's just
this-
talk about the fact that violent crime is fucking sky high in poor neighborhoods compared to standard suburbs.
But all of this is all pointing to what I was trying to get to.
Well,
That I didn't-
actually,
like, I was.
Hold
okay,
on,
go
Vash.
ahead.
Let her finish.
Mhm.
No, you can finish first, Tema.
Oh, I was just
Sorry for
trying
taking
to say,
control.
it all boils down to that too many parents have dropped their kids off at school expecting to get their kid back as a full built adult by the time their public education is done. Not realizing that the only thing the school is going to give them is information. The life lessons and all that shit, they have to do themselves. Why do you think there's an entire group of individuals that'll tell you that parenting isn't that hard?
Yeah, I mean, I just want to say, my school was built by an architect who specialized in designing prisons. I think that just sums up the whole public school system in California right there.
Right.
Real quick, if you look at the public school system, it was built around the idea that you needed factory workers. So they taught these kids to be obedient, show up on time, and do your job.
Yeah, that's what the bells and shit were for. It was to get them to the fact that, okay, I got to stop because the bell rang. All right, I need to start because the bell rang. I mean, you're exactly right, dude.
And all I'm going to say is if that's really what kids are learning right now, and that's why they're supposed to be going to school to learn all that shit, and there's nothing going on about them trying to train children to be cogs in the machine and corporate slaves, then why in the fuck is it law for them to go to public school if they're not enrolled in a private school or being homeschooled?
Well, it's
Well, no,
law for them to get an education.
Look at it, even in states like Oregon, Tema. You live here in Oregon. You should know this. They want to ban fucking homeschooling.
Arkansas, we had something like BB. No child left behind.
No, it's not going to happen. It's almost a third of the state homeschools their kids here.
Really?
So,
Yeah, not to mention you're right next to Utah, who basically everyone homeschools their children there.
Well, Texas was the same way. Washington was the only place I've run into any troubles with it.
I was going to ask, is Utah predominantly homeschooled so they can push their religious ideals on them at home?
I mean, that might be the case, but
I'm just curious. I was just a thought.
Oh,
I mean, that might be the case. And oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, I'm not going to lie. The vast majority of people that homeschool in America are Christians.
Yeah, and usually fundies too. So.
Yeah.
Even if it's about pushing your religious views on your children, I mean, that's whatever. But that's just because one is wrong doesn't make the other right. Just because you can say we don't want children being brainwashed with cultist ideas. Not saying religion is a cult. I'm saying this is the argument. So we have to force them to go to a public school to get an unbiased education. I mean, just because the Axis was objectively wrong doesn't mean the Allies are objectively right. That sort of deal.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yep.
And that's one of the reasons why I was actually pro public education, but the paradigm of it should be shifted because of the way that this new world and the way that social media and everything has been evolving. Just like the way that the film industry has to adapt to it, the way that the comic book industry has to adapt to it. They're not adapting the
Which
right
neither
way.
have, but
yeah, they're not adapting the correct way.
I agree with you that they're not adapting to the situation. But why?
I think the Department of Education should be eradicated, and then you
Absolutely.
lower it back to the state level.
Well,
that's where you go.
I'm gonna have to go ahead and take a little citation from a certain buddy of mine. It was an experiment with rats. Maybe you might know about it. The beautiful.
The Mouse Utopia.
Yeah.
The Mouse Utopia. That's a crazy fucking story. Are you talking about the sir that did the mouse thing?
Yeah, the Mouse Utopia.
Oh, that is insane, dude. You're the only person I know besides me who's heard about. Have you guys heard of that?
Well, I mean, like I said, I have to credit Optimus for showing it to me. So
the fucking the results of what he ran, like 4 different studies
5
altogether. 5. The results, oh my god, they were fucking insane, dude. Insane.
Basically, to sum it up for people who don't know it, a man studied, I think it was 5 different experiments. He took a bunch of mice. I think it was 1,000.
I think the first time it was like Norwegian rats or something. Then he switched to lab mice. But
he basically put them in a habitat, gave them, based on studying rats, he gave them everything a rat needed. He gave them food, he gave them room to move around, room to socialize, whatever. In a couple generations, I think it was only as much as 3 or 4, their lives were so perfect that they started seeing horrible fucking, there was a very big drop in the reproduction rate. There was, I mean, I don't really know how you would measure this for mice, but there was a study or a measurement that it said that mice were getting more violent and that society was basically devolving. And it's kind of like what, I mean, I guess it would kind of be a slippery slope to suggest this, but the idea is that's what's going to happen if we let big government run our lives like they're trying to do right now.
It wasn't just that. They ended up in sort of devolved groups. So you ended up with the sort of metrosexual mice.
There were the subclasses of it, yes.
Metrosexual mice.
Yeah, I completely forgot about that. Wasn't there a big spike in inbreeding too?
Yeah.
Metrosexual mice. Tabby, really?
But I'm gonna
Metrosexual
put up
mindset.
an image of the chart and what happened to that utopia experiment, and I'm actually getting I'm getting to a point with it. But if you watch it, you'll see that there are roughly 5 stages, and I know Optimus is going to probably mention this, but I'm going to have to.
Madlib, can you put that chart up on the stream so everyone can see it?
That's what I'm working on. I'm hosting it, so
I gotta run to the
There we
gas
go.
station. Get a cigarette, so I'm
now
just gonna
this
mute myself.
was
I'll be right
given.
back, guys.
All right.
Amen.
All right, see you,
later,
Mo.
I'll be right back. I'm just muting myself.
Yeah, no worries, man.
Bye, Mo.
But it was John Calhoun that did the mouse utopia experiment. Now you can see the phases here. Now with it you can also decolonize after 4 pairs of mice. But
Well, I have a question in the interest of playing devil's advocate. Has there ever been anyone that's been able to duplicate the results of this experiment? Because if there hasn't been, that's a big red flag for science.
Well,
I believe it has
he
been
did
done
this
a couple
over
of times.
He did this over
Oh, okay.
like 20 to 30, 40 years as well.
Oh, okay.
But you
I'm
can
pretty
see
sure
have
the
been
game is
other-
nice as well.
now. I believe
Mice.
whenever I look
I
at
don't think
this,
that this study has been actually replicated by somebody else.
But there was the original one, which started with rats and then it was redone with mice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what I
That
thought.
was my understanding.
Right,
Rats,
there's
and-
It's
there's
not been
part
done
of
by
it.
somebody else or
Oh yeah, but exactly. But that's what
I
peer
don't know.
reviewing is, isn't it? I mean, you can't say it's a pure comparable study, but there's certainly
See, what it's showing is
consistencies there.
all of them are able to roam and everything. There's basic layout, but if you're looking at the graph, which this one is the screencast, but I'll go ahead and go back to this one. If you're looking back at the graph, it's very it has a strong correlation to how industry works. You start out with factories, and then you go into service jobs, and then the factories create a agricultural creates a population boom. Population boom equals industrial agricultural, which leads to industry. Industry leads to service, and then service and industry. Whenever the industry falters, then the service jobs are there. It creates a lower class. But I believe that the same type of grid in the same stages are relative to how our education system and the way that everything's going. Like even if you were to, let's say, just separate all 4 rooms, I believe that the same result, even if it were just all 4 of these rooms being separated in just a certain amount of mice, it would still lead to the same. I believe it would still lead to the same conclusion.
Vash, what
Yeah,
was
I
the
mean-
hypothesis of the experiment?
I don't think there was a hypothesis when it started off. It was just let's see what happens.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I guess the hypothesis, if you're comparing it to humans, would be: should humans be left to their own devices, or should they have, whether that be a state or some sort of governing entity, do everything for them? And it's meant to like weigh the 2 extremes, isn't it?
Okay.
It's
The
a way-
hypothesis he did come out with an hypothesis because one of the things he was trying to study was overpopulation.
Yes.
It's about what happens when you have, when you have plenty, when there's no
Pushing overpopulation,
foraging or.
and that's
Oh,
why
right,
he created small areas that contain to create an overpopulation condition.
Yeah, see, when you create situations where, when you create situations where you're running everything for everyone, that is the circumstance where overpopulation becomes a problem, because it becomes a big game of let's try and redistribute the resources and stuff like that, but this is just mice, but if we tried that in real life, it's like eventually you're going to run out of other people's capital and money, and that's when shit's going to start falling apart.
But that's what I mean, because there was no restriction on resources. The resources were infinite.
Yeah, exactly.
There was no droughts. There was no, failed harvests or anything like that, which would naturally curtail the population.
Yeah, and since there is no droughts or failed harvests or anything like that, that creates no the word escapes me right now, but like the rising and falling of the economy, the recession versus the word is escaping me right now. Well, the opposite of recession.
Boom bust cycle.
Yeah, boom bust.
Yeah, there's no boom bust.
But see, the thing is,
it's not just that. You got to remember, what were the rats? How are the rats living? All right, did they have to go out and find food? No, food was delivered to them.
Yeah, like I was saying, whenever industry leads to service jobs, you have food delivered to you. You have things given to you. It's a consumer type of deal. You don't really even have to. You don't have to do anything. These rats are comfortable and happy.
Norwegian or something? Is that what was going on?
But the last process in all of this was they all died. It happened in the rats and it happened in the mice.
I mean, that was a good joke. You know it.
Wah wah.
So, whenever this service and stuff goes according to what it's doing, then what? What's our next step?
I'm not sure, but I kind of want to move on to the Alex Jones story and the fact of social media is back before Congress.
Oh yeah, let's go ahead and let's definitely put that
up. Gonna play out with that, or what do you guys think?
All right, well,
I mean, Alex Jones is backed into a corner fighting off like 20 different things, because I mean, not only is he trying to do what he wants to do, but he has to put on an image of sorts because he's also in court trying to get his kids for custody.
All right, well, don't touch me again, man. Senator Marco Rubio faces off against InfoWars conspiracy monger Alex Jones in hallway heckle spat.
Okay, I'm gonna back out real quick, guys. I'll talk to you later. Bye.
All right, later.
See you, Emma.
Thanks for coming, Atima.
They cannot get into a fist fight. That would just look way too fucking weird.
Oh yeah, but
it would be weird, but it would be fucking hilarious.
Yeah, CNBC decided to cover this about 6 hours ago, and it was updated an hour ago by Dan Mankin. So thank you, Dan, for covering this for us.
Is this an article or an editorial? I can't tell by the headline.
It seems like I'm not sure. But let's see here.
That's frightening.
Yeah, get your hand off me, don't touch me again. After Jones pawed his shoulder while he was, the Florida Republican was apparently just trying to answer reporters. And,
that's not how I'm imagining. That's not how I'm imagining this playing out. I'm imagining Jones just coming up behind Rubio, putting his hand on his shoulder, like, "How you doing, little mama? Let me whisper in your ear."
Basically, Rubio had said, like, "Dumbass, I don't know who you are," and while he's like, and Jones Jones likes to heckle people, especially if there's a media source around. That's one of the things that Alex Jones generally does. So Marco Rubio was basically having none of it.
Yeah, anyway, Cabbage, go ahead.
Really quick. That Marco Rubio does not know who Alex Jones is, really? Like,
yeah,
seriously.
I was gonna say, like, I'm calling bullshit on that. How the fuck do you not know who Alex Jones is when you're in politics? How do you not know who he is after being on the internet for 5 minutes?
Yeah.
Well, that is why they call it the Washington bubble. You know, they're so wrapped up in their own bullshit. Maybe it wouldn't surprise me.
Well, I didn't know who. I don't follow Alex Jones, so I didn't know who he was initially.
Well, you've heard the name, and I'm sure you could recognize his voice if you heard it.
Yes, I know who he is now, but if you tried this 3 years ago,
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that during the briefings where Zuckerberg and all of these things regarding social media, I'm sure Alex
Zuckerpot.
Jones came up at some point. Yeah.
Oh, and Rubio, tough talk as well. I'm reading through this just to kind of summarize the article because I don't I'm covering the article. I don't want to just read it word for word, He says basically Jones was kind of rubbing and Jones was warned not to do it again. And then he said, Rubio basically had said, after Jones had said something, apparently Alex Jones was heckling him. And then he goes, "You're not going to get arrested. I'll take care of it myself." So Rubio, very, very strong words from Rubio. And Jones goes, "Rubio just threatened to physically take care of me." And then he goes,
How much of this do we know is actually true? Because as of right now, the media is willing to do absolutely anything to discredit Alex Jones.
Well, I mean, this is quoting Alex Jones from what I'm seeing, and it does seem very, very accurate. It does. It seems very accurate if you've ever listened to Jones for a while. Look at him.
It's
He's so mad.
Within his character.
You're not going to silence me. You're not going to silence America. You're a little gangster thug.
You'll never defeat God. You'll never win.
Yeah, he
1776 will rise again, motherfucker.
Yeah.
The Jesuses.
No, but fair enough. The thing is, though, Alex Jones is right on this fucking point. Okay, he is the winner of this argument.
Oh, he's right on touching somebody up. Watching that transport. They're turning Alex Jones gay! They're turning Alex Jones gay!
Get Lieutenant Knives in here. I want to see him weigh in on Alex Jones watching tranny porn.
Yeah.
They're putting chemicals in the water that are turning Alex Jones gay.
Yeah.
they're not turning him gray, just into a frog.
Maybe a mouse.
Real quick, have you guys seen those articles that actually show he was right on that a lot of pesticides are causing frogs to have gender swaps?
Frogs are renowned for converting anyway.
The area itself,
a lot of frogs are already hermaphrodites. Go ahead.
Causing isn't that so much. It's creating population differentials, and frogs have.
That's true. I'll give you that.
Gender, all right, because genetically they have that ability.
See what y'all want to
If there's too many female frogs, some of them will flip to male. And if there's
Y'all
too many
How does that work? Do they just grow a dick? Like scientifically, how does that work?
It can do that. That's genetically they have that ability.
Okay.
Why can't I do that? I want to grow a dick on my forehead and just walk around with it.
Everybody knows the whole ordeal of when Alex Jones was saying that the shooting was basically like fake news and all that good stuff. Well, apparently he's also on going on about responding to that, and this is the 11th hearing apparently that they've been going through.
11?
Yeah.
Good lord.
You ever sit up there and apologize for that?
No, that's why he's they're going after him again, like the parents and stuff. But yeah,
for making those kind of outlandish, he did make those outlandish statements, then he's wrong.
Yeah, I mean,
now if he's apologized for it and said, "Look, I was wrong about that," then
no, he's saying that he's saying that basically they're saying outrageous and slanderous things, and he was being deplatformed, and this is all going back and forth from Rubio, and him, but it seems like from the wording, it seems like they're quoting him. Yeah. But the whole deal about the Sandy Hook massacre and stuff. They last week a judge in Texas rejected Jones' bid to dismiss a lawsuit accusing him of defaming the parents of victims of the Sandy Hook school massacre in Connecticut, which Jones has repeatedly claimed was a hoax. So he's still going with the with that. He's still saying
I'm not saying it. I don't think it was a hoax, but if you look at well, not just that one. If you look at anything, any shooting, there's always a lot of fishy shit that's behind it nowadays.
Yeah, and
I mean, there were a lot of reports that actually, like, you can look them up. It actually did not make the cut to be featured on the news. But just for example, one of the teachers interviewed in the Parkland shooting, she saw the shooter walk into the building and just start firing. And she said, based on the way he was dressed, her first thought was, wait a minute, why are the police here? Like, she saw a man firing a gun, and that was her first thought.
And didn't he also have, he had a bulletproof vest on or something? Or bullet-resistant
No, not
vest?
just a bulletproof vest. He was covered head to toe in body armor, according to her. Which, you know, nothing I've read even says Cruz was wearing a bulletproof vest. I'm not saying it was faked. I'm saying it's fishy as fuck, just like the Vegas shooting.
And the main event has finally arrived. I'm here, everyone.
Who the hell's this?
I'll talk to y'all later.
See ya.
He's got his supper. He always does that.
5 yet, so keep 5.
Oh, yeah.
You know, Alex Jones is that shit fucking crazy, but you know what? There's no reason to censor his speech. Who fucking cares?
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
There's always an off switch, you know?
Yep.
The question is here, what he claims that the authorities were in on this is set up. And that, to be honest, they have a reason to go after him for that aspect of it.
Well, that is true, but can you really, I mean, knowing what we know now about a lot of stuff, can you say for sure they weren't? I mean, it's pretty much proven fact that during the Parkland shooting, not only were the FBI alerted to Cruz's behavior, but the police were on a stand-down order.
I understand that, but and if he would said that, that's one thing. But he has come out and said that they were throwing bodies out there that children weren't actually killed.
Okay, yeah, no, that's just where you lose me.
He went past just saying, look, the authorities need to be held accountable. He went to the point of saying, you know, that the authorities were like placing bodies of children and no children actually died.
Oh, yeah, he outright said it was a false flag. I mean, that was
yeah, I mean, anyone who looks at that shit, their evidence is always, oh, well, why are there only 2 police or 2 ambulances there on the satellite image? Like, I don't know, maybe because they brought a fucking bunch of medical supplies so they could operate on scene. We are talking about gunshot wounds here.
What do people know initially?
Yeah.
Once he's already arrived and left, are these 2 leftover ambulances? You don't have any time context of when all this was going on, and even then, they could have been the first 2 that arrived.
Exactly. Not to mention, I'm pretty sure Google would censor dead bodies anyway. So, like, you wouldn't even see anything like that. I don't know what the hell he's looking for.
Basically saying that the families are lying about their dead children. I would kind of get annoyed with that if my child had died.
I would too.
Such an incident. So, I mean, I don't think that you can know if a defamation against the families is an accurate way of doing this. He is past the point of no return in this, and the fact that he won't apologize is a problem.
Get out, hoodie. Mute, damn it.
Sorry. I'm fucking 19 and I smoke half a pack of cigarettes a day. I'm trying to quit, okay?
We're just asking you the mute button. That's all, just the mute.
No, you guys are gonna listen to me vape, and that's going to be the main
Are
highlight of
you
the stream.
are you trying to
Motherfucker,
silence him?
I was smoking 2 packs a fucking day. Get your shit
Wait. Yeah, you're telling me to mute myself? Are you trying to deplatform me, Cabbage?
That's right, I am. Yeah.
1776 will commence again.
Friday is only a couple days away. We can take this to the Kumite.
There you go for it, buddy. I'm up for it.
Well, to be fair, he is British. They like banning things, so you know.
Yeah, that's true.
No, we like manners.
They also like being assholes.
We like manners. Consider
Yeah,
it.
but you also like being assholes. I've been muting myself most of the time. I forget once, and you jump on me like a fucking tiger.
There hasn't been a vape for a little while.
But it was
They caught me. I'm trying to quiet everybody else's talking so that they can't tell that it's actually just a cover-up. There were no dead children. The bodies were airdropped in by Russian fighter jets. And then, you know... And the only reason the shooter got in there is because the Russians hacked the security system so that he was able to sneak through the door without setting off the fire alarm. Fact.
Hey, I'm old school. I actually roll my cigarettes and pack my bowls.
I pack my bowls too, but I'm out of shit to pack right now.
Well, I can come pack your shit. Want me to?
Ooh, I don't know. We might have to involve a contract there.
Some kind of gay stuff that I'm not aware of. Is this gay slang? I'm gonna pack your shit.
This week on the guy who just started paying attention.
But yeah, like the Alex Jones thing, I personally think that was, you know, he's kind of trying to ride the train a little bit on it.
Agreed. Should he face repercussions? Absolutely. Should he be deplatformed? Absolutely not.
No, he should not be deplatformed. He should be allowed to say.
Vash, fair. Come on. If you were deplatformed from 3 different social media sites in 24 hours, wouldn't you make a big deal about that?
Oh yes, I would. I would be very pissed. I mean,
I imagine this. Oh, go ahead.
Like, I would be very, very pissed off about it. But at the same time, what we're dealing with on this is, like, I mean, he's said stuff about Sandy Hook, like, and I think honestly he did go a little bit too far in that. And should that mean that he should be deplatformed? No, that does not mean that he should be deplatformed. But at the same time, he should be held responsible for his own words.
I mean, this is the thing.
Oh, go ahead. I was just going to say, Hammered Squad in the chat. This all started because Alex Jones mistook Rubio for a trap. That would make a disturbing amount of sense, actually. I'm going to try not to think about that.
Speaking of which, why not bring that article?
It's a disturbing precedent. It really is a disturbing precedent that can happen. And like I say, I mean, what consequences can there be? I mean, the guy's an absolute arse. He can be exposed to be an absolute arse for doing it. I mean, but really, in any crime. As far as I'm aware, he didn't breach any bylaws or statutes or anything along those lines, did he? So, I mean, what can realistically, what could be done?
At most, the only crime he would have committed is slander. But, like, let's be real. Why the hell is that even a crime? That's something that should be settled in, like, fucking... No, you don't even need a judge for that. You need a mediator.
Pink News from the UK. Anti-trans InfoWars host Alex Jones explains why transgender porn was on his phone.
Okay, he was caught watching it. I'm pretty sure it's safe to remove the transphobe label from him at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure if you're watching trans porn that you're not really a transphobe.
Okay, I'm coming
out right now as not a transphobe then.
Among the open pages on his iPhone was one of the that appeared to show pornographic video titled "Naughty T-Babe Mistress," which features Australian transgender adult model Marissa Meeks. And I will also, for reference, because a lot of people are like, well, we gotta see the model that he's looking at, right, guys? Right? We gotta see her.
It wasn't even like Jesse Dubai or Venus Lux. There's nothing to see.
So there's the picture of the of who it was. That is Marissa Meeks. She doesn't look bad. Not gonna lie. But what do you guys think? I just put it up so that way everybody can see it.
Well, I mean, he has had people on the show before. I mean, who was that? Black. What the hell's her name? Black something. Blackmore, or I don't know, whatever the hell her name is. That he had on the show, and he was, he debated with. Maybe it was research. Who knows?
Yeah, slander is against the law. It's a civil court, not a criminal court. And many slander cases are handled outside of court through mediation and settlement. Yeah, that is true.
Well, the other thing that Tima brought up was the fact that, the American law, but that's when you talk about something like Twitter or something like that, you're going worldwide.
Yeah, but
be extradited to Germany or something. You're going to extradite him to Germany so that German law. I don't think so.
But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, at this point, it's more along the lines of like, who cares? Let's be honest here. We all know what's happening. What's actually happening is they're trying to strike while the iron is hot because I know they got reinstated, but they pretty much have successfully kicked him off 3 platforms. They're trying to double down on that and trying to make a mountain out of a molehill, basically, to be like the final nail in his coffin.
Yeah.
You leave my hill alone.
The government didn't deplatform him. 3 separate companies colluded to get him deplatformed.
Yeah, he
or
still
4,
should have
5,
been
6.
deplatformed regardless.
Okay, looking at the way that they're also portraying him right here, like, I mean, him maniacally laughing and the way that they're, that part is a little bit much, but last month.
He's a fucking performer, dude.
Yeah, but this is also they made sure to state that the month before this all happened, he had called drag queens satanic beings who should be consumed by fire.
Against the law, not against the law.
And let's see what he says. So I'm sitting there with a phone on air.
What happened to freedom of fucking speech? What happened to being allowed to say whatever you want unless you're inciting violence?
Well,
what happened to that?
You can't slander or libel someone though.
Yeah.
Slandering or libeling anyone in that quote that was just given there, and him acting like an asshole is not illegal either.
I apologize for that.
You're gonna do me now? Like, give me a fucking break, dude.
Okay.
If you actually
you want a Kit Kat?
But let's hear what he says here. Because this is Alex Jones saying his statements about it. So I'm sitting there. Oh wait, I gotta do it. I gotta Jones it up. So I'm sitting there with a phone on air and showing it to everybody because I couldn't get a URL to up in the studio. And then like some things pop up like, oh my God. And I looked at it, he said, the news blurred it out because there was nothing there. They blurred it to say something was there. When you went to it, it was some porn menu. I've probably had porn menus pop up 500 times on my phone. If you have porn menus pop up 500 times on your phone, then you're obviously
too much time on. You're spending too much time on porn sites. Is what's happening.
Yeah. Bash,
Well,
your
I'd like to-
Alex Jones sounds a little bit like Alex Jones and John Madden had a baby.
I want to say some. I want to say something to Cabbage because he brought it up. I agree he did get deplatformed by 3 private companies, and I also support the idea that they're still to this day allowed to do whatever they want. But can we really say that this isn't a government thing in some way with all the scandals that things like Twitter, Facebook, and Google have been caught up in? I mean, they've been caught.
I think
they've been caught selling
I agree it's
information.
political, but I believe it's political. I believe it's because those companies in Silicon Valley, they are very, they're left-leaning, and so they obviously collaborated for political.
They have a lot of pull too,
It had nothing to do with the actual government itself. So those companies should be, the power that they have, considering that they are applying political. If they are turning it into politics on the platform, then I'm sure that puts them in a slightly different category, just an open platform and free speech.
I agree they're completely within their rights to take him down because it's their service and they get to dictate how it's used, but does that mean we can't call it out for being wrong? I mean, censorship is still censorship.
Yeah.
There's this idea that people who fall under the umbrella term of libertarian we're okay with a boot on our throat as long as it's not the government's boot. It's like, that's not the case. You can still call out private companies for doing shitty things.
Yeah, but I mean, also, like I said, doesn't it also put them into a new category once you start editing posts, rather than it just being an open forum? Once you start doing that, you start imposing a particular political slant on your service. Doesn't that change them into a different status?
I'll give you that. It does.
So the companies should be gone after for the for the collusion to deplatform.
It was a collusion.
It was,
and I think in a lot of ways they're already being gone after by. I mean, like, have you seen their stocks recently? They've been plummeting. Really, the only reason they're allowed to, keep doing this up is because, Google and stuff like that, they buys cloud storage from the CIA for Amazon, or CIA buys cloud storage from Amazon and Google and shit like that. So I mean, like, with as colluded as they are, I would step up and say a major reason that they're still as active as they are and allowed to get away with stuff like this is because at this point they're a pseudo government agency.
Well, yeah, and also, I mean, again, a lot of these things were created on the back of taxpayers' money in many ways.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, they have benefited an awful lot from the taxpayer as well. So that, again, I think should be questioned as to what their actual status is once they start doing this editorializing or this censoring. Because I'm sure that should put them into a different. Like be treated as like press or whatever. I don't know how it would work, but I would have thought that kind of activity would change what their business practice is classified as.
Well, we can all agree that they should be put under a spotlight regardless at this point. Whoever's shining it on them, someone has to do it. Oh, absolutely. By the way, Cabbage.
Mm-hmm. Just fuck it. Yeah, but then again, I mean, look, they tried to put the light on fucking, Zuckerbot, and that didn't do shit. They just threw him a bunch of softballs. They didn't get any experts on, to question Zuckerberg. That you got a bunch of old farts who can probably barely, who never learned how to program a video, VCR, let alone use a bloody smartphone.
Well, I mean, to be fair, they didn't want to overload his programming and send him into systematic shock on live TV.
Boot a couple of times. Yeah, I mean, you put the spotlight on him, and that really proves that apparently doing, good work for whoever is in support of him. I don't think he got in any way, shape, or form a realistic Q&A with the Congress. That was pathetic.
Yeah, no. I mean, regardless, when Congress is involved, anything that's going to happen is going to be, I would say, at least 50 to 60% staged, at least in America. In Europe, it's more like 80 to 90. But
well, he was challenged over here.
What was that, Madlib?
As well.
Do you support Gary Johnson's run for the Senate now? Now he wants to demote himself. You know, he was governor of New Mexico. He wants to be a senator. Do you think that's good?
I mean, the Libertarian Party, in my eyes, is a massive fucking joke because it's like, we're gonna fight big government by making government bigger. It's like if the Libertarian Party really wanted to encourage the government to be small, like what they would be doing is they would be encouraging people not to vote, because if there's no followers, there's no leaders. That's just my opinion, though.
Everyone's a leader now.
Good point, but
you get a participation certificate.
Don't you think? That
and
when it boils down to it.
Yes and no. I mean, I would support any, like, someone who holds our views if they were actually going to try and fucking, you know, make things better for us by getting government off our backs. But see, it's not the Democrats or the Republicans that are fucking people over. It's the two-party system as a whole. So I don't think making that a three-party system would do much, because if government is involved, their version of democracy is going to be three wolves deciding what sheep to have for lunch.
Yeah.
Well, that is the definition of democracy that Benjamin Franklin gave. So that's a very good analogy.
Yes, but also, as Winston Churchill said, democracy is the worst system that we've had, except all the others that we've tried. So.
Well, I don't know. I mean, even in the very beginning, was America ever a free market when they had taxes?
Yeah.
It was a much, much bigger free market in the days before the Federal Reserve, but wasn't that Churchill's time? Or am I thinking of someone else?
Who was the comparison?
That was FDR, I believe.
FDR.
Actually.
Oh, well, I mean, you can't trust a fucking word out of that guy's mouth.
1939?
Is that when it was founded?
No, Churchill.
Churchill.
Well, he went in and out, of course, a couple of times, because after the World War II, he got fired and then came back again. But he was in government an awful lot.
Federal Reserve, I think, was 1919.
Yeah, I was going to say the Fed founded in 1939. That doesn't sound right.
No, not the Fed. Sorry.
Churchill
you just confused the shit out of me.
Yeah.
I think in 1939, Churchill.
Let him speak.
I think it was an admiral.
Go. Go ahead, Cabbage.
I think he was head of the Foreign and Commonwealth Office in 1930. No, he wasn't. He was Prime Minister in 1939.
Was he?
No, that was Chamberlain.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, I could be totally wrong on this, but was Churchill ever prime minister? I thought he was just a really big government political figure.
Churchill was prime minister, but I have to go to the chat real quick. Hammered Club says, try communism. To be honest, it solved the obesity issue.
We have in Venezuela.
How do you know that Venezuela is socialist and not communist? Because it says on average they're losing 20 pounds a year. If it was communism, it'd be 40.
Communism light.
If someone who is barely 120 pounds, that fucking frightens me as a concept.
Fair analogy to compare communism with libertarianism. Are they both ideology, that will fail eventually?
I think it depends on how they're carried out. I mean, communism supports a violent revolutions, and like if you take something out violently, of course that's going to create a power vacuum. It's like, as much as I want all public health care in the US to be completely gone, I realize you can't just shut it down like that, because that would be like pulling the rug out from underneath a lot of people. But if under libertarianism, it supports the idea of peacefully disassembling the government by getting people to shake off their need to the point where it's obsolete, and then it's a very short step from obsolescence to abolition if you're going the anarchy route. But I mean, I would say libertarianism is a lot more plausible, just on the basis that like it has a lot more answers to things that communists don't. Like how you're going to gauge demand. We have prices for that. Communists don't. How you're going to fucking, what's the work week going to look like in terms of innovation? Well, automation takes over jobs but creates new ones under libertarianism, whereas under communism they create automation for the express purpose of relieving people so they don't have to hire them at all. And then under communism, innovation will be slowed, so it wouldn't be like every time one person loses their job to a machine, there's the 3 more jobs created. There's an engineer to build it, a computer guy to design it, people that have to do maintenance. But under communism, innovation is too slow for anything like that to happen.
Well, MC, what say you? I think you have a totally opposite reaction to that statement. So
he's a commie.
What, commie?
I would say MC's more of a fucking Nazi than a commie. He's siding
a Nazi.
With
a Jew. What other things can I get with Mad Dodger? No.
I'm not Jewish, but I self-identify as a Jew.
The issue is communism versus capitalism. Because capitalism doesn't necessarily have to specify any kind of specific in order for it to run, as far as political ideology. All right.
Because it's an economic system.
All right. People that say that communism is an economic system ignore the fact that in order to achieve it, you need the political clout to sit up there and control the means of production.
I would disagree. Wait, well, let's just make something.
As soon as you go back with to each according to his needs, from each according to their ability, as soon as you go with that process, you need some kind of centralization that has to take place. It has to. Okay, so therefore, can communism work in
a freedom
democracy?
sense?
No, because in a democratic sense, what you end up with very quickly is someone's going to have to decide, right, who gets what, where, and why. Can that kind of work? Because it's centralization.
Have you heard that? Wouldn't you think that South Africa right now is a democracy, to where the majority is oppressing the minority?
Oh yeah. The idea of democracy is that 51% of the population can control the lives of the other 49% because they say so.
As a true democracy, yeah, you can say that. Is it going to work? No. Just because as soon as they apply that technique, the 51% are going to turn into a smaller and smaller group. It has to, because it has to centralize.
Exactly. Have you heard the Day 2 argument against communism, MC?
What's the Day 2 argument?
I think we're having some issues.
Yeah, Cabbage occasionally kind of cuts in and out a little bit. Hopefully.
No, it's muted. No, I just went
back.
Stepped away.
Now that we're back. MC, have you heard the Day 2 argument against communism?
I heard the Day 2 argument against communism.
You have or you haven't? You cut out there.
I have not. No.
Oh, okay. There you go. Well, basically, it's like, let's wave a magic wand and say that without a state or without any centralization, everything is perfectly distributed. There's no prices. Everybody has each according to his need and ability. The problem with that is the nature of the free man is that he is completely unpredictable because he's going to do what he wants to do. So by Day 2 of socialism or communism, everything would unavoidably unequally distributed again. So what you would have to do is you would have to have some sort of collection or redistribution agency that comes around and redistributes anything. And once you've done that, there's no way you can deny that you formed a state, a centralized state. And if you don't do that, it ceases to be socialism, because nothing is equally redistributed, and they want to talk about that.
Well, that's the problem, is when people start talking about equal distribution, even communism doesn't sit up there and talk about equal distribution. Yet when you look at it, it's saying to each according to their needs. The problem then becomes needs.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like, what if someone needs two houses because they have a really large family, but then they decide to just move everybody into one house, and now they won't no longer need that house? What, are you just going to take it away from them because they don't need it anymore? How's that fair?
Use that term. That is the most abused term in the friggin' world. Fair.
Fair.
Fair and balanced.
More like a metaphorical sense. Hey, as many people have told me, MC, life you'll find is quite fair, Hoodie. But most of those people did die before age 25, so.
From my kids all the damn time. That's not fair. I'm not here to be fair.
It's overused because both sides have to use it, but that's not fair. Life's not fair. Everybody has to use it.
No, and I stepped away for a second, and I came back, and I heard you talking about somebody with two houses. So I assume you're talking about Bernie Sanders and that Clinton money.
Oh no, we were talking about the problem with each according to his need is, let's say someone has two houses under communism because they need it and they have such a big family. What if some of the family moves away, or they die, or will starve to death, which is pretty likely, whatever. What happens when they no longer need that second house? How is it morally justified at all to take it away from them just because they're not, they don't need it anymore? If it's on land they own, it's fucking theirs.
Yeah.
Oh, there is the government argument to where you don't really own land. The tax you pay, property taxes, is literally a rent, pretty much. So
yeah, you can.
Well, I mean, I'm going to go ahead and try and finish this statement. Could you really say that you own anything whenever you are having to pay for certain things like a fishing license, or various other things like that, or having to pay the tax on a house and land that you have personally bought? And
that's why I always maintain that capitalism, it becomes unsustainable when it's run under a government. Because, okay, the government needs to be funded to run, so it's going to do through theft, taxes. You've completely paid off your house, but you still have to pay money every year for property tax. Well, what are they going to do with a bunch of money? They can't do anything with that if it's all different types. So the first thing they do is they found something like the Federal Reserve, where they own a monopoly on currency. And if that's the case, you cannot avoid inflation.
And that's the fact that societies don't run without a government. You're going to have some form of government when people create societies, whether you like it or not.
Yeah, I'm not saying that it's completely unneeded. Like, the government could disappear tomorrow and we'd be fine. Like I said with healthcare, that would destabilize everything. The idea is, after a lot of people have shook off their need for the government, and, like I said, it's a short step from obsolescence to abolition, there could still be some form of governmental system. I'm just saying that whatever we accomplish...
When you say that, though, what you're saying is that they're shaking off the need for a society. That will never exist.
No. Here's what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to say they shake off the need for a state, specifically.
Then you're going the route of family units, and you're going to end up with warlords.
Like we have now? The governments who own... The argument that warlords will take over, so we need warlords to take over, i.e. government, is kind of flawed.
You want to go back to the time period where people are starving to death? Because that's what you're looking at. Like it or not.
When exactly does the social construct change, though? When exactly does...
Here's my point. Redistribution of wealth and capital and resources would not have done anything in the very, very early 1800s. No, why? Because the economy was physically incapable of producing enough to feed the entire family. So that, everybody was starving and shit. The way that you increase innovation is you free the markets. And when that happens, people can produce a lot more than they need to.
What? To say that you don't need... To say that you have to have limited government intervention or as minimum as possible. I'm not arguing that point when you talk about it from a market perspective.
So you're saying on the I'm not meaning to interrupt, but just to clarify, Hoodie, you're saying more of like how Theodore Roosevelt broke up a lot of the industries that he was around.
I mean, kinda yes, kinda no, because like I don't support government intervention in the free market, but I get what you're saying.
Okay, go ahead, MC. Sorry, I just wanted to say that.
Oh, it's one thing to sit up there and say, look, that you have to have a hands off from a supply and demand perspective. Societies exist across in a larger spectrum. You're saying supply and demand in and of itself. Well, there are other things that come into being with that. For example, there are environmental concerns, right? You can't sit up and say, okay, well, however I produce this, if as long as it doesn't bother somebody else. Well, initially it might not. Over time, it might. Government, all right, is the same thing as saying, well, there won't be societies then.
No, that's saying there won't be a state. Like I said, you're drifting to the argument of
the moment you do that, then you establish a family unit. The family unit controls a sector of land that it is theirs, and you have a state. Period.
No, the difference is the reason shit like this is happening now is because people have they have somehow been trained, whether it's conditioned through public school, whatever, to believe that the government automatically gets a pass on the idea that it's not okay to force your way of life onto other people. If the state is gone and people grow up without that sort of idea, you can't form a state because the only way to get the funding required to form a state is to fucking through business transactions and shit like that. If that's the case and people are trying to fund a coup...
That isn't the only way to do that. You can do it through family units. When your family unit is bigger than the other one, you seize the other people's land. You seize the other people's means of production. That's the problem.
They have to have resources. They have to have resources coming from other places. And another thing you're forgetting, with no government regulation, automatic weapons will be back in production and be cheaper. So people will be armed to the teeth to protect their shit. And the funds that it will...
No, because what happens with those situations is that as soon as somebody establishes an ability to create soldiers, all right, they'll dominate the entire area. They don't have to listen to this. Okay,
create what soldiers? You can buy an automatic weapon at fucking Walmart.
There's a huge difference between soldiers, all right, and a warrior. Just because you've got an M16.
Yeah, we're talking about militias, but he's talking about like they're creating soldiers, and I'm like, the funds that it would cost to run a war in a world where all weapons are fair game would disincentivize you to do that, especially because there's no way you'd be able to cover.
Those people who are in control, there's nothing to stop them from saying, I want to be in control. And they would go out there and whatever they needed to do, they would seize it. This is what happened in Rome.
If you built up a reputation for fucking that you're going to seize and take control of everything around you, no one's going to fucking buy shit from you. So how are you going to get the resources required to train soldiers and fund your crusade?
They don't have to buy resources from them. They can seize those resources from the other group.
Okay, so what the fuck? That doesn't make any sense. Fucking, you have a reputation.
If you have a
another thing, if you have a reputation,
here's what happens. If you have a reputation, all right, of being the biggest, baddest bully on the block, okay, two things: either A, they'll try to fight you and get beaten up if you're not powerful enough, or B, they'll give in to them, or C, they'll try to run away. Now, the majority of people try to run away. In the scenario that you're talking about, there's nothing to stop them from seizing everything.
Yet you cannot fucking monopolize all of Earth's natural resources. There will always be a way to fight back. Look at the De Beers monopoly. They were a monopoly who were broken up through the forces of the free market because they couldn't monopolize all of Earth's diamond mines.
That's a situation back in the 1800s and so forth. We're not talking about the same kind of movement capabilities that we have today.
We're talking about a monopoly that was broken up in recent years through the forces of the free market because they cannot get to all of Earth's diamond mines. Second, how the fuck is all of this fixed with any sort of moral superiority with your solution, which is warlords will take over. Therefore, we need warlords to take over and protect us from warlords.
Well,
It has to do with the way the society.
It goes.
It has to. No, it does
goes
not.
right back to. It goes right back to the most flawed logic on Earth. People are evil, so we need a government.
If things were exactly the way you were saying, Hoodie, all right, then these kind of situations would not have developed. People wouldn't have created family units. The family units wouldn't have gotten large enough to threaten other family units and seize their lands. That's the way human beings, all right, came into existence. You can go all the way back to when we were tribal and we were running around with spears and so forth. It was the same effect.
Because at that point, innovation was so fucking slow, because innovation always takes time at the beginning, that they had no fucking choice but to be a bunch of starving animals for fucking fighting for resources. You can't say that like I said, it's the most flawed logic in the world. People are evil, so we need a government made of people to protect us from people. It goes right back to that every fucking time.
You definitely need a government to sit up there and protect borders, because not everyone is equal all the time when it comes to protection.
And just so we're just supposed to fucking pray and hope that they're not going to have their own best interests at heart before ours.
Try to create systems to prevent them from going over.
Look how well that worked in America. Compare the size of the government in 1776.
All right, guys, whoa.
The state is a growing fucking beast that grows for the sake of growth. You cannot get around that. The representatives will always distance themselves from their voters and collude and conspire against us. It's the fall of every fucking society.
Then sit up there and get together as a group and change your representatives. You have that ability in the United States.
All right. Both are valid points on that. Now let's let Mad Lib say what he's wanting to say real quick.
Yeah, I have a question.
We don't care.
I have a question, you guys.
Yeah.
Nationalism versus individualism, and if that's what we're arguing, then I'm going to take an individual every time. Yes. Because we are all separate and we all have the right to our own existence. And
as an individual, you'll get stepped on by a group of people that get together and work as a unit. Single
yes,
time.
You are right. And in today's society, that group is called government. Congratulations.
Called government.
You're finally seeing your own argument. Yes, it fucking is.
The people that we have elected that have done that. The only one who's responsible for what's going on in this country right now are the people who sat back and said, you know what, I'm not going to pay attention to who I was electing. And they ignored things for a long period of time, including if you go back to what the press was doing back in the Clinton administration.
Are you also trying to say that wasn't a I would agree with that, MC. However, the voting system has been proven in the past election, in the election before that, and the election before that, that it is very corrupt and can be easily manipulated.
It's not easily manipulated. It can be manipulated.
It is easily manipulated.
Hold on, it's not easily manipulated. People can be easily manipulated.
You're giving people absolute power when you turn them into a state. That's what a fucking state is. You're giving them a pass on the idea that it's not okay to force your way of life on other people.
The police, do the police have absolute power? Does the President of the United States have absolute power?
I don't fucking know. Had you seen the fucking statistics that say the amount of civilians shot by cops?
The absolute power in the country devolves directly down.
Stop fucking gish-galloping and let me answer your first point. Do the police have absolute power? I don't know. Look at the statistic that says the amount of civilians killed by police is at a 40-year high, and you tell me. Correlating with the statistic that says the amount of police officers killed by civilians is at a 20-year low.
So do they have absolute power? No. But do they?
One thing, Vash.
Are they seizing?
How many fucking stories have you read, MC, that says a cop shot someone, whether it be a kid or an adult, who was found to be doing nothing wrong, and the only fucking thing that happens to him is that he gets moved departments?
Many times.
Why does that motherfucker not force to turn his
nearly as often as you think it does?
Remember that?
You hate to claim nothing happens to that guy. That guy is oftentimes put in jail.
Come on. The hokey pokey. Lay on the ground. Put your left leg over your right leg. Now your right leg over your left leg. Crawl, bitch. How about that? You remember that story?
Yeah, and not only that,
I also
here's
remember
another,
that
here's
story
another
that he
thing.
wasn't sitting up there listening to what he was being told to begin with. It's the same
Are
thing that
you
you guys come
fucking
back with.
serious?
Yes, because I saw it and I watched it. And you know what? Other people have seen
Yeah,
it too.
you heard it here first. You heard it here first, everyone. MC believed an innocent man deserves to get shot because he didn't do what someone pointing a gun at him
deserved to
told
get
him.
shot. Okay, it's
You
a
just fucking
tragedy
said
because it's a part of life. You expect there to be perfection somewhere? You expect there's somehow you're going to be able to put something in place where this will never happen?
You jumped the fucking gun to the police officer saying that, well, if he wasn't, we would just do what he was told to, wouldn't have gotten shot.
This is the
Do
thing
you
that
know
Mad
fucking
Dodge is talking about, and Mad Dodge is ignoring the fact that the guy wasn't listening to the police at the very beginning of that. And that's how this kind of
You're defending a police officer who shot and killed an
anybody.
innocent
I'm
man.
not defending
What the fuck is wrong with you?
What do you mean what's wrong with me? You want to think that a guy, all right, is walking around there as if he has no responsibility for his own life, all right, and that somehow there is something in place, all right, that can prevent these kind of tragedies.
Yeah, here's another thing. A lot of people don't know about that fucking.
No, Hoodie, tell me how to prevent the tragedy.
Now, here's what you don't fucking realize. Have you read anything at all about that cop? You know what happened to him You know what happened to him a few days before he shot that guy? He got a new paint job for his AR and got the words, "You're fucked," stenciled on the hilt of it. And you're gonna tell me it was okay or not the shooting is okay, but you're gonna tell me it was okay to just let that guy go as if he didn't need some sort of fucking psychological evaluation? The guy was clearly fucking looking for a reason to use his AR.
Whether or not that guy went through any kind of psychological evaluation, because it's done through police departments.
I can tell he did it because he fucking shot a guy who didn't do anything wrong. You don't need a fucking psychological evaluation to tell me he's a piece of shit.
He did do something wrong. That's a lie to start with. He did do something wrong, or the police wouldn't have been there to begin with. Now, does that mean that the situation sit up there and it could have gone differently? Yeah, there's things that could have happened. But you know what? There's no way to go into those situations and look for perfection and say, you know what? The only people who ever get killed are the bad guys, and the only people who
I'm not asking for perfection. I'm asking for a guy to be looked at when he gets the words "you're fucked" stenciled onto an item that's supposed to be used.
Question.
Go ahead, Madlib.
Why exactly didn't they shoot the woman? Huh? Down
He went to the ground and did exactly what they said, Mad Dodge. No, Mad Dodge, you cannot sit up there and take a look at that situation and sit up there and compare her actions and compare his, because they were completely different. That's why.
The guy fired at him because he reached down to pull up his pants so that he could continue to move. I saw the fucking video. The guy was reaching in front. He wasn't anywhere near a pocket. And in that situation, your first response is
when he got shot. I saw that too, and his arm went backwards toward his back, not toward his pocket and not toward the front.
You admitted not towards his pocket, so what the fuck did he have a reason to shoot him for?
The back, you could be pulling out a back weapon.
Okay, if you have your... Hold on, Madlib. If you have your gun aimed and ready to fire at someone, you're gonna be able to fucking shoot them while they're pulling out a weapon, because a guy who's on his knees with his fucking left arm above his...
That's nonsense. All right, yes, you can if you're ready for it and if you're on edge. If you go in with
You're telling me he had a gun in someone's face and he wasn't ready to pull the trigger?
When you train a weapon on people...
No, that guy was twitching like a crackhead. You want to talk about on edge. You have 4 cops, and you have a woman and a man. That's it. And you have
I'm not saying there couldn't have been things that could have that couldn't have been in place and that the cops didn't do anything wrong. That's not what I'm saying. I'm trying to sit up there and point out to you that in situations like this, there's no such thing as perfection. You guys keep demanding perfection every single time. It doesn't exist. Okay?
I'm not demanding perfection. I'm demanding you get a psych evaluation of a guy who fucking is stupid enough to get something like that on his gun when he's supposed to have a position as high as protecting the innocent. I don't think that's too much. Not to mention, you know what happens 9 times out of 10 when a fucking private security guard...
Wait! Okay, first of all, the police, they don't protect anybody except for themselves.
Absolutely. Thank you.
No,
no, and
it was a
that's another
Supreme
thing.
Court ruling. They don't have to protect anybody except for themselves.
So yes, MC, the answer to your question is that the police have nigh absolute power at that point.
No,
You gotta figure something.
You can take a
Go
look
ahead.
at what the positions
Shut
were.
your fucking mouths for 5 seconds. Both of ya. I'm sick of the bitching, and I'm gonna start. A Supreme Court ruled that the police don't have to protect anybody but themselves. And I can barely hear both of you screaming over each other, so I'm tired of it. Anyway, as far as police shootings go, MC is right. There is no such thing as perfection. As far as shut the fuck up.
No one said anything.
As far as they go, however, they should be prepared for just about anything. So Hoodie is correct as well.
Yeah, no, if I may talk without you
You
yelling
both have a leg to stand on.
I'm just saying he's strawmanning my argument because I'm not looking for perfection. That's all I wanted to say. Go ahead, Madlib.
My point is, this was not the regular police either. This was the goddamn SWAT team. They fucking know better, all right? You don't put 3 center mass in a motherfucker.
Jumped in and said they know better. Like you have any idea what a SWAT team actually is doing and how they're actually go through the training that they go through. That's
Okay,
nonsense.
well,
man.
with all the training that they're going through, you're gonna tell me a man on his knees that they can't at least make an attempt to fire at his knees before they put him in his chest?
Or use a taser. At that point,
Yeah,
I believe that they should have been trained.
It's against the law to fire at somebody's legs. They have to make a lethal shot.
Yeah, but
I'm not
the
talking,
thing
I'm
is,
not talking about shooting him. I'm talking about
should have
scaring
had,
him if you really
should have
believe he was
had,
pulling out a weapon.
I believe personally, since there's a little bit of a break, I believe personally on that regard, there should have been, okay, as being a police officer, you learn different things, pepper spray. You learn different non-lethal things that are not the gun. Now, my question is if he had his pistol at the ready, why didn't he, whenever the guy was on the ground, switch?
It was an AR-15.
Oh, it was an AR-15 that he had?
Yeah.
All right. First of all, let's talk about. If we're going to talk about the situation, let's talk about the situation. Right? Because somebody had put the police were there because there had been a call put in. All right, that not only was somebody brandishing a firearm, right, that they were doing it with a high-powered rifle out a window. Now, it turned out that that was all wrong, but this is what the police. All right, this is the assumption the police were going under in this case. First thing that they asked these guys was, "Where's the weapon? Where's the weapon?" And the guy was responding, "There is no weapon," because he had a BB gun. Okay, now you've got another problem. The police have to sit up there and go, "Is the guy lying to me? Are there more people in the room?" Things, and I do agree that there would have been a better way for him for the police in this case to have responded initially to what was going on, because contradictory orders were being given. I'm not saying that makes it right, all right? But the idea that the police, all right, that this guy has to be held, perfectly accountable for every little decision that his, in this case, the person shouting orders was his frickin' supervisor, has to be held accountable for that. It's just nonsense. It's just nonsense. It's an expectation of perfection that doesn't exist in the real world. It's the same thing.
Well, here's a question. Go ahead, finish.
Question.
Oh, I was gonna say, I don't know if it was you or Madlib, but someone made the point that this was not police, this was a SWAT team. If it was a SWAT team, and it was one guy supposedly having a high-powered rifle, why did they have to send in one man with a gun? Why couldn't they send the whole team in, dressed head to toe in bulletproof gear, and each go for a limb? There didn't have to be a lethal option here.
We're talking about the same thing. There were four people there.
Mm-hmm.
I think the real difference here that you're arguing about is the difference between perfection and professionalism. And I don't think that showed any professionalism whatsoever. The way they were making him dance, and there's a very big difference. That was a total lack of professionalism. And again, that really doesn't, sing to the tune of
I'm not saying
Cabbage. Real quick, MC. The follow up on what Cabbage just said. Don't you think when you give the man a badge, you give them a higher status in society? You are saying you are professional enough, or you are accountable enough to protect the rest of society. That is what we do when we grant them the power to arrest us.
To an extent, all right.
Madlib, can I
to an extent?
Can I add on to that, Madlib?
Yeah, I think you got the floor.
I was just gonna say, this might sound really harsh, but it's like being a soldier. When you sign on for a cop, at least the Supreme Court will otherwise, but at least ideologically speaking, you sign up to be a cop because you want to protect society. You know what? There are going to be times where you're going to have no option besides charging at someone with a gun to try and take them down.
Incorrect.
I mean, when you sign up to be a cop, you are essentially saying, okay, I'm going to be that person that dives in the line of fire to try and save everyone else's lives. That's what you say when you take your badge.
I disagree with you. That is not what they sign up for.
Well, then that's a fundamental disagreement in point of views. And
it is a fundamental difference in point of view, but it's also a problem that's been going on for a long time. People have gotten the idea that the job of the police is to protect people. That's not what the job of the police is. To enforce laws. That's their primary mission. Above anything else, their primary mission is to enforce society's laws.
Well, then I have a question, and this kind of goes back to the whole reason we started this debate. If the job of the police force is to be agents of the state and enforce their will, how can you come at me and tell me that the police aren't nearing absolute power when the state is absolute power?
State is determined completely by the public in the United States. You have
at least in theory.
You have that ability, all right?
It's not
a theory. It's a fact. You have the ability. Whether or not people do it or not, to understand that or not, can be a different issue. And it goes back to what we started this thing, which was education. A lot of people have a miseducation as to what's going on. Even with what we were saying there, you have the idea that somehow that the police, that their primary mission is public safety, that their job is to sit up there and protect the public.
No.
I just said ideologically speaking, that tends to be the goal of the person when they join the police. That's what I was saying. I'm not at all saying the police have any obligation to protect people.
Well, no, and I did say that, and there's a problem here, MC. When I can quote the Constitution better than the cop, problem, all right? You say they're supposed to enforce
what's
the
that
law.
problem?
They don't even know the goddamn laws.
Or a lot of people, especially minorities, aren't even being read their Miranda rights anymore.
Read by the police to begin with.
MC has had a rant on that, which I tend to kind of agree with him on. The Miranda rights. You should know your own rights. You should read the Constitution if you're an American citizen. You should know what the fuck is, your rights and the laws.
Well, yes, but if it's the job of the state to enforce those rights and laws, why should they not have an obligation to read them to us?
Why should we not be educated about them? I guess.
I'm not saying we shouldn't be. We absolutely should be. Yeah. I'm just saying, like, if it is the job of the police to enforce the state's will, they should at least be telling people what the state's will is while they're arresting them. For example, it's the state's will that you have Miranda rights.
Comes from and is determined by individuals, right? So you can look at it from that aspect.
It
isn't the state's job to educate people. It's the individual's job to educate people.
Well, that's neither here nor there in terms of what I'm saying. I'm saying, why should one individual be punished? Like, let's say he was growing up in a poor neighborhood and he didn't have a time to fucking learn about shit, or because he spent all his time trying to cover his ass and not get shot by criminals. Why should he have to worry about, what the police are going to do or not do to him when he's just trying to survive? I don't think it's that much of an obligation to read at least your fucking Miranda rights.
you think it's an obligation or not. It's not it's his individual obligation.
All right, fair
It's
point.
not the obligation of the police to sit up there and go, you know what, I'm an education service. And I want to be real specific with this. I don't have a problem with that, all right? I just have a problem with it from the judiciary standpoint, right? For example, if people got together and said, we want our cops to make sure whenever they arrest somebody that they read the Miranda rights, that's fine, because then that becomes part of the legal statute. It's a difference, though, when somebody sits up there in a high court, reads the Miranda rights, and says, we're going to make sure that you have to read the Miranda rights, all right, because we're going to find an individual's rights mandate that you have to have his rights mean you have to do something for him. Okay, and that's exactly what happened with Miranda.
That's a very valid point. I'm not disagreeing with that. That is a great way to run an individualistic society.
This is one of the reasons when you talk about the way society is running out, all the problems that are going with it, it's this kind of activity that has helped create the kind of environment that you're complaining about right now. Well, it's repeatedly about, for example, when it comes to marijuana laws, right? Personally, I don't think marijuana should be illegal, right? But whether I want it to be illegal or not, in the country today, as it exists, it's illegal. Why? Because federally, it's never been overturned.
Well, I mean, if we're going to go on marijuana specifically, how can you justify that when it was banned for a completely bullshit reason? It was banned because billionaires were losing billions and billions of dollars in the timber industry to hemp. That's a case of a law that was enacted to cover the state's ass.
I don't disagree with you, but if you want to get it changed, change your representatives.
I can't do that as an individual.
It comes to the marijuana laws and drug scheduling. That actually came from the fucking. I mean, the president wrote that in the fucking law. Nixon did.
Law. It's not how it's in the law. The law is the law. The president doesn't get to make a law. It isn't a.
This is what I've been trying to say. That is not a bad way to run an individualistic society. That's a great way to run one. The problem is when a state enters the equation, because you say this now, and I'm not saying this will, I'm giving a hypothetical. What happens if fucking Congress comes out and says, hey, fuck you all, this is a dictatorship now. We come door to door for guns tomorrow.
You're going to have to fight a revolution.
That's never going to happen. That will.
See, that's what I'm saying. The law suddenly becomes evil in your mind.
Ever happen. You realize how many Americans will all of a sudden stand up and go, yeah, fuck you, right in the eye?
You're right. You know, you're not wrong at all. You're absolutely right. I'm talking about this from a point of belief, because in his mind, the law all of a sudden becomes evil then when he's trying to defend it now. That's all I'm saying.
So I find laws that there's laws that are evil right now with marijuana. Right?
Yeah, I agree. And I'm saying as long as the state exists, I can't change shit as an individual. Statism is a collectivist ideology.
Or not, it's social as well. It isn't just an ideology from a political standpoint, it's a social construct as well. Because we're not just individuals, we're social animals.
That doesn't make forced collectivism morally justified, which is what statism is.
Statism isn't just freaking that. And
I'm not saying it's just that. I'm saying that it has an element of collectivism.
Of collectivism, because we as individuals have elements of collectivism, or we wouldn't form societies.
No. Here's where we differ, and I think this might just be a definition thing. Collectivism is when you're forced to be a collective society. It's a much less extreme version of communism. Individualism is when you're free to be a collective at your will.
There's no such thing as absolute individual freedom.
I never said there was.
But then you have to understand that force at some level is always being applied within any social group as it exists.
Not really. I mean, I wouldn't have a problem with taxes if you could opt out of them, because then it's not force.
Freaking removed from societies. That's what happens in societies. Is eventually you'll get ostracized out of that society.
Okay, I can get ostracized from society right now, but I'd still have to pay taxes as off the grid as I'd be living. I can't avoid sales tax. I can't avoid property tax.
Prison, and you wouldn't have to worry about sales tax or property tax, would you?
Prison is fucking built to sustain and get more taxes, so I don't know what you're talking about there.
So?
So what do you mean so? 86% of people are in prison for victimless crimes for the purpose of being tax cattle, and you're saying
that's a nonsense statement because most of the people that get arrested are not initially arrested for frickin' a victimless crime. A lot of
Who
times,
gives a fuck?
a lot of people, because this is the problem. You're saying that, well, they're only there because it was a victimless crime, but the reality is that they beat somebody and then they pled down to that quote-unquote victimless crime because so they could get a lighter sentence. All right, this is not the same thing.
I have one question.
Go, Cabbage.
Okay. Think of my roads.
Yeah, go ahead. Oh, fuck you. Domino's has already taken care of the roads. Haven't you seen that shit?
Yeah, no, I did see that shit, and I shared that with MC as soon as I saw it. Yeah,
that was fucking great. Have you seen that picture of that kid that's like slinging folded pavement over his shoulders? Like, I'm going home and I'm taking my roads with me.
Yeah, where we're going, we don't need no roads, you asshole.
We won't, because if innovation is allowed to fucking be a thing, we'll have self-driving hover cars. You know, transhumanism and all that. I just want to go out there and say right now that, MC, I don't mean anything towards you, man. I'm enjoying arguing with you. You seem like a cool dude.
So don't worry about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, the closer the friends, the bigger the battles, right?
Started, I was like, hey guys, I think Hoodie and MC are gonna fight the whole fucking stream.
Hey, it was entertainment.
Right.
I mean,
I liked it though. We delayed it till the end, so it was kind of like the main event.
Yeah.
And now, what you all came to see, blood sports.
We didn't exactly have like all of the topics covered, but hey, what the hell? We can always delay those topics. It's cool.
Yeah.
My topics anyway. He always finds a way to avoid them.
Oh well, then bring them up to me.
I can understand that because, like, from the beginning, you and I weren't really arguing. We weren't really arguing economics or anything like that. We were arguing worldviews, and no one's gonna shift on that, no matter what. It's for the audience.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way.
No, she got on my nerves real fucking quick.
God, you're Charlie Sheen over there, just doing lines of coke.
That's what I was thinking. I'm just sitting there winning.
I have one speed, one gear. Go.
But yeah, I think everything was covered. That was nice. An equal
we got some
application. But I do have an article, since we were talking about police, and I'm like, well, you know what? Let's adapt it a little bit. And we've been going on for about 2 hours, but I say fuck it. It's it's relevant, I think, right?
I'm actually gonna hop off here in a few minutes because I got a D&D game to get back to. But for public record, MC, this is me extending my hand to shake and say good fight.
But
you put up a lot more. You put up a lot more of an argument than the communists I tend to argue with, so I thank you for that.
All right. Well, real quick, because you might not want to miss this, Eddie.
I would like you to join again sometime soon. I would appreciate that.
Let's do a part 2.
Discretion is the measure of a police officer, said by Rich Kinsey. 2010 article on Ann Arbor News.
Discretion is the what?
Discretion is the measure of a police officer.
I can see that.
It's saying proper use of discretion is probably the most important measure of a police officer or department. And
I mean, a big thing that I think, at least everyone, I think, we might not be able to agree on it, but we could at least, like, come to some form of even ground here. Can we at least say that guy who is basically playing Simon Says with the victim he shot, can we at least agree that guy should have attempted some sort of non-lethal rounds, like beanbag rounds or something first? I mean, he had his AR-15 pointed at the dude. I don't think he was gonna one flinch and he could shoot the guy, so...
Yeah. Like, I would say that if he's wanting to use live rounds so bad, that he should at least, there should have been another member that would have had non-lethal. And I I have watched training of, you know, SWAT teams and everything else, and I have personally, the only thing that I've done personally about it was I took a little bit of basic training and I went through some simulations on a computer. Now, is that the same as their training? No, no, I'm not going to say that. But does it give me a vaguely similar? Because the simulations is if you had to use lethal force, there was a certain amount of rules that you had to adhere to. Like if they shot you or if they shot at you first, then you were allowed to use lethal rounds in the simulation. But you also were conditioned to try and take as many of them down non-lethally as you could. And
I don't believe for 1 second that a guy who's trained enough to be on a fucking SWAT team, not just normal law enforcement, I refuse to believe that he didn't see in some way, based on this guy's embodiment of fear, that he wasn't at least somewhat innocent. Maybe he did have a gun in the cop's mind, but I refuse to believe at that point he didn't think maybe this guy is, you know, maybe we got the wrong guy, maybe it wasn't a gun,
I
maybe
think he was on a power trip. He was on a power trip.
There's no doubt about that.
Much in the same way that if the way that they rile up their dogs for the canine units, whenever they rile them up, sometimes that dog might lash out at the cop, and the cop knows that. But it's all getting them riled up. So I think that the cop kind of has this alpha mind state of like he's wanting to not only, he doesn't want to just take control, he wants to seize control of the situation.
Agreed. But yeah, guys, I think I'm gonna hop off. Madlib, thank you so much for having me on. MC, thank you so much for putting up a good fight. I think that was really fun. And everybody else, thank you for being just cool motherfuckers to sit on a stream with.
Yeah, thanks, City. I might join in a little bit.
All right, yeah, we're still doing that other one. Fucking, it's hilarious. They've all been knocked unconscious at least once, and they're in the first room of the first dungeon. It's pretty fucking hilarious.
Oh, well then in that case, I'm gonna get my druid out.
All right, guys, have a good night.
All right.
Yeah, you too, man. Thank you.
Yeah, that was really awesome. That was Hoodie Demon, ladies and gentlemen. I believe Madlib, would you kindly make sure to have that on the in the description, his link, because that was cool. Get a nice guest spot there, and putting in straight Sith mail again.
I'll work on that as soon as we go off air.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
awesome. Because that was a nice heated debate. But yeah, this is trying to say that if an officer is strictly enforced every letter, like to observe the letter of the law, you know, I am the law. But that officer probably wouldn't have time to answer calls for service. He would basically be chasing his tail. It seems to be an ordeal. But the other thing about do poor people do more crimes than rich people? Well, I personally, whenever that was brought up, I wanted to state that it's not which crimes, it's the type of crimes, blue collar against white collar crimes. Because if you look at it in the process of embezzlement and various other ordeals like that, then I believe that the rich have done far more than what the blue collar crimes could ever even hope to cost. Would you agree to that, MC?
I think that the one thing that you're forgetting is why prison.
You kind of cut in and out a little bit.
Let me ask a question. Why do we put people in prison?
Because they break the fucking state's laws, whether they are good or not. That is the reason why.
A point. Why are these laws put in place? And regardless of the country, the nation, or anything else, why do we have prisons?
And real quick,
basically
Chris Mail, I have been dragging you back into the podcast room for like 20 minutes. What's going?
I think he just kind of didn't want to. Just didn't want to do nothing. I've been watching that. I've been watching him kind of bounce back and forth, but I didn't really want to say anything.
Might be having problems with his systems.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I was like, I mean, you know, like, eventually somebody's gonna point out the elephant in the room. But once you've got everything fixed, man, just let us know, and we'll definitely have you back on, you know, in whenever you can.
The purpose of prisons. What's the purpose of prisons?
The purpose of prisons. Well, I mean, then that would be a place to imprison someone. So what would the purpose of imprisonment be?
What's the purpose of doing it?
Time out for bad guys or girls.
But the purpose of prisons, regardless of where they are, all right, regardless of what society they're created from, right, are to isolate threats to society. Determines that for whatever society that you're in, it determines that something's a crime, so therefore you're going to go to prison because we're going to isolate you because you're a threat to our society in society's opinion.
Okay, so you're going with the sociological road on this.
Why prisons were created. This is why people do things like this. Why do you send, you know, regardless of the size of the society, regardless of where the society comes, is that they put people in prisons, right, to isolate threats to society.
Mm-hmm.
System. The way we try to focus it is to say the greater the threat, all right, the more dangerous you are to society, therefore the longer you're going to spend in jail. This is what we're trying to, right?
Well, that depends. Is it jail or is it prison? Because there's a difference, as well, at least in the United States. Whereas in, like, the United Kingdom, there's just the prisons.
I personally don't differentiate between a quote unquote jail and prison. I know that there are differences, but I'm not talking about it from that perspective, generic overall perspective. And as you take a look at it from the United States, yes, we do have something called jail, where we put people in jail for for the same reason. The reason we put them in jail is because we've determined, all right, that they're a threat. Now, when somebody goes to jail initially, is initially determining whether or not they're a threat, whether you like it or not, all right, is the police officer. You don't have society there to pass judgment.
Yeah. But I mean, law was created in such a fashion at first to keep people out of prison. Like it was in a way to make sure that, you know, you would have to do something fairly fucked up to be there. I mean,
Are you talking about in the United States, or are you talking about generic?
In the United States, the way that the laws were implemented for our judicial system structure as a whole.
In that, what we created from a judicial system, as we look at it, he went to the waiting room. That's interesting. Did you put him in the waiting room, Mad Dodge? Back to what I was saying.
Yeah.
And what we were doing.
No, I keep dragging them fucking into the podcast room. There, Straight as Mail, you're back again.
Oh, whoops. Apparently, there we go. There was a server mute on him. I don't know how that happened, but I'm sorry, and I made sure that you are unmuted, man. So, Go ahead and unmute, and sorry about that. I didn't notice. Mad Dodge, who did that?
I didn't. I don't even know how to do that.
Oh, and now he's dropped back down, putting him back up. Okay, you're definitely not muted anymore, so... Alright, you're able to talk, man. Like, me noticing that, you know, he was muted, I'm definitely making it a point that, you know, I don't know what happened there, so... Making sure that you're able to talk, but okay. Whenever,
we've been going for,
yeah,
almost 3 hours straight. Do you think we should wrap her up?
well, I'm gonna see if Sith will have some time to talk. So we'll continue talking a little bit longer, and then we'll go ahead and wrap it up and close it out. But I'm gonna give because I noticed that server mute, I'm gonna definitely give Sith some time to make sure to, you know, state whatever he's wanting to state. So go ahead back to what you were saying, MC.
Okay, so what our system was created is created around multiple different things. One, you get arrested. Okay, then you're going to, as Sherardi said, going to jail. This is a temporary detention, at which point the first judgment that's going to be made is whether or not detention must continue or whether or not we can release you into society, right? That's where the first judgment that gets made. This is what the whole concept of bail and jumping bail and everything else starts to come into. Is they're going to make that determination of whether or not they're going to hold you there, charge you for another crime. If they're going to charge you for another crime, do we incarcerate you now or do we let you go? All right? Then you're going to go at some point, very quickly, all right, to trial. The problem that we have with today's society is before, trial used to happen very, very quickly. There would not be a delay before trial. Well, people found out, of course, is that if you go to trial very quickly, then sometimes the defense doesn't have the ability to mount an adequate defense because it doesn't have process of discovery, et cetera, et cetera. Speedy trial became delayed and delayed and delayed and delayed and delayed to now it gets to the point where you're not having trials until years and years and years later. I shouldn't say years and years, but a year, maybe even two years later before an actual trial actually commences. This is ridiculous, right? So was to prevent people from being incarcerated initially awaiting trial. So they'd spend years and years and years away. And now what's happening is the exact opposite. Yeah, well, we have created these systems, all right, as a method to try and mitigate what we were seeing as abuses previously. But you can't deny the previous abuses took place, but you can't ignore the abuses that are taking place today. Now, part of the reason for that is because societies change over time, all right, for a variety of different reasons. For example, because they were a horse thief. Really understandable back in the 1800s, especially the early 1800s, because somebody that stole your horse may have sit up there and caused you and your entire family then, as a result, to starve to death. Steal the horse, everyone's like, well, who cares? It was a freaking horse. They're not expecting you to be executed for that crime. You have that difference just from the way technology has changed and the way society has changed today. So what's the relevance of all this? The problem then becomes, okay, you have to have people that then update those laws to reflect those changes. Within the United States, and this is my biggest bugaboo, the people who are most responsible for fixing those laws are the direct representatives of the people. And the people are being irresponsible with who they are choosing as their representatives more than any other reason place. And it's exemplified, all right, in Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton. People's representatives, all right, turned a blind eye to their criminality. Just talking, all right, the FBI and the CIA doing all the nefarious shit that they do. People that we chose, that people chose to represent them, that were willing to ignore that corruption and not hold people accountable. Looking at you guys want to hold the police accountable to a higher standard because you're saying, well, we're going to put them on a pedestal, so therefore we're going to hold them to a higher standard. Okay, well then when are you going to hold yourselves to a higher standard for putting in, for electing representatives, people to represent you, to make these determinations, to make these laws? All right, when are you going to try and hold them to a higher standard?
You're not wrong, MC. And sorry, guys, I was having technical difficulties. No, you're not wrong at all. And why is it all of a sudden we have to listen and believe the people that brought on MK Ultra and also weapons of mass destruction on Iraq? Why should we believe these assholes? You know what
Better
I mean?
yet, what you worried about? You're worried about you believe them. Why are our representatives? What are our representatives who are supposed to be the ones overseeing? Duty that if you take a look at the Constitution in the United States, the one thing that it's set to do is almost all the power at some point in time, right, back to the legislative branch. Right now in our country, the legislative branch is the one that is the least powerful because it's the most feckless. Because they've given away all their prerogatives, all right, really nothing to take it back except for frickin', wine and dine on caviar.
True.
Who's at fault for that? You can say that it's the government, you can say it this, but what it really comes down to is it comes down to the people. We're not holding these guys accountable. We're not responsible enough to hold these people accountable.
Yeah.
To hold our own representatives accountable. How the hell are we going to end up in a situation where it's all free love and we're in the ANCAP state where there is no government? How is that going to be possible when the irresponsibility of the people just to select their own representatives is there?
Yeah, but is it necessarily better that you have this overreaching government that the people vote on who really don't even know why the fuck they're voting for who? They just look at D or R, and that's all they fucking do. Is that necessarily fucking better?
Who's responsible for that?
Me, I vote libertarian, bitch. Like, god damn it.
Whether you like it or not, you're part of the society we exist within.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, in this case, we're kind of doing that kind of education.
Well, we still have Cabbage and Jensen here. You British folks, what about your multi-party system where you have, 5 or 6 different parties? Maybe even fucking 10, right, Jensen?
Arguable. We've really only got 2 parties that actually have any hope of any sort of power. The Liberal Party, which is technically our 3rd, is not even considered a joke anymore. It's actually that ridiculous that it's ignored completely. Sorry to say, we are actually a 2-party system now.
All right, well, I guess we'll go ahead and wrap things up. We have been doing 2.5 hours of content for you guys, so please, if you guys enjoy the content, you can make sure to like and subscribe. Hit the notification button for any time that the Red Eye Productions and Mad Dodge does any of his other fuckery. I gotta say again, deep thanks for Mad Libertarian for having me on and helping and letting me help host the show and everything. That means a lot of good vibes, a lot of good vibes. But we're gonna go ahead and have the final thoughts, and we'll go ahead and start it out with Cabbage. So Cabbage, your final thoughts on the whole thing. Uh-huh. Yep. Well, our
Yeah, I'm sorry. The key. I was away. I was hooking up the pairs as you said it. So I was searching.
People should eat at the wrong time.
Oh.
Final thoughts. Well, I think it's more regarding. Well, I mean, with regards to what libertarianism versus communism. I mean, which bit?
Well, I mean, let's go ahead and do like the final of what we were talking about after all of that. I guess it was the whole police thing. And
like I said, I do think that it's. By the way, we do have jails over here, and we don't just have prisons. The jails are where you get processed before you get put into a remand prison if you actually get in charge. If you're
yeah, we have
if the
jails
crime
too.
requires it. Yeah. So no, I was just pointing that out because somebody mentioned that we don't have them, but we do. So I don't know who said that. So it's wrong.
That was me, but I'm just
Always
going
right.
based on what I was told.
Okay. Well, and overall, I think it does come down more to training. I think, and also like an excess of caffeine, and probably too many donuts, and caffeine highs, and too many monster drinks. Not a good combination when you're packing. Scenario.
Yeah.
That would be my point.
Too much cocaine, so to speak. No.
You're laughing at the general chat right now, right?
Yeah, a little bit. I'm kind of chuckling at it. I'm trying to be all, you know, professional and stuff, but this chat's kind of cracking me up a little bit. But
No,
Yes.
you know, it's actually horrible. My wife is Rebel Mama. She's the one in there. So yeah, she's encouraging this shit. That's not a good thing. Like, you shouldn't encourage ass pizza. Like, God damn it.
But
Those were my final thoughts on that topic. I think it's,
On the ass pizza topic.
there are other, you know, I mean, obviously there will be other compounding reasons. I don't know whether it's procedural or whatever, but yeah, clearly issues that need to be addressed within the SWAT forces.
But yeah, I mean, I just want to say and reassure everybody, thank you guys for watching. I did put a lot of effort into the layout and stuff, so thank you guys so much.
Dude,
And-
you what, 2.5 hours we were talking last night setting
Oh,
this shit up?
that was the ending part. That was me having the rough idea of it. That's not even counting the couple of days of me trying to figure out a good layout and then going back and forth and, you know, continuing to do it. And, like, you know, that was it's been a few days for me to try and actually get this going, but you know, that was you know, it's awesome to see a bunch of people, you know, really enjoy the content. So I just wanted to say thank you guys for doing that, and, you know, be sure to share it, and there will be more. I'm going to be here every week, so I also do my streams as well, so there's that too.
Yeah, no, exactly, Vash. Let's talk about that.
Motherfuckers need music.
About what, 4 or 5 hours? That's what
Oh,
you
yeah.
usually.
Like, I usually stream in about 4 or 5 hours, and I usually go on for about 4 or 5 hours. So, it depends on if I have some really salty people on stream, or if I have, like, some generally, you know, decent laid back people. Like, if there's a lot of salt and a lot of toxicity, then I'll just be like, yep, 3 hour mark, later. But if there's more like teamwork and everybody going, yeah, that was a good, well played, you know, you killed me, but I can see why it was justifiable, you know. And seeing that type of stuff, it makes me want to stream longer. Just like this was originally, like, what, meant to be a 1 hour stream. turned out to be like almost 3. Like, you know, if it's good content, I say, you know, just go ahead and keep it going. But yeah, so let's go ahead and go over to Jensen. What are your final thoughts on the whole debacle?
In all honesty, for one, I'd like to point out you've done a really good job with the stream, and the work you've done on the graphics is awesome. 2, I cannot say how much fun it was listening to MC and Demon argue. That was just absolutely hilarious. And
Yeah.
3,
Oh, man, Jensen, real quick before you go to 3. Like, can you imagine how happy I was that I wasn't the libertarian being attacked for once?
that's almost what I was going to say. And for once, it wasn't the MC versus Mad show, which, to be fair, is a shame because you two are amazing together. But it was really good.
Oh yeah, that was a very 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 awesome. Like to me, I wasn't even expecting that because he was doing his whole D&D thing, and I was like, all right, I'll just go ahead and do this, and all of a sudden, I hear from Madlib going, hey, by the way, he might be here. I'm like, whoa, like, all right, out of left field for me, but that's awesome. I mean, I'm chill with Hoodie. Me and Hoodie are pretty good friends, or we've become pretty good friends. So it was awesome to see that.
I will be throwing Hoodie Demon's channel link in the description. Also, check out Mr. Gapperton.
Yeah.
And the Liberty Network. That's another
Mr.
channel they set up.
Gapperton and Hoodie Demon are awesome. I've been following them for a while.
Yeah. But yeah, me and Hoodie have gotten to know each other pretty well, and yeah, he's pretty awesome. I like considering him my friend. So, but yeah, let's go ahead and go over to I think it was MC's next, or did we already?
You want my final words?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I
I'm
want to
ready
know
to take
how
all
much
you
hate
sons of
the
bitches
libertarian.
down anytime you want. Screw you all. No, it's fun. It's fun like always.
Yeah.
Appreciate Hoodie.
You and I
Your
would
final
go
word.
around.
No, wait. So MC. So in other words, your final words are on nuke the penguins.
Damn.
That's where we're back.
Back to the Nazi penguins, are we?
Yeah. Yeah. Holy shit. We got to nuke penguins.
Goes way back when I created a whole Nazi penguin situation.
But
Back to being a Nazi.
Oh, I still have that picture downloaded. I should use that as a thumbnail again. It's been about a year, so we can bring it back.
yeah, why not?
Resurrect the penguins.
Resurrecting. So are you saying that you created a meme, you then let your meme die, and then you're reviving your own meme?
Kind of, but
That would be memeception. But I mean, in practice, that's exactly what you're doing. Logistically, my statement is correct.
So, MC,
Well-
I do have a question here. For this weekend, right? The Civil War stream, we gotta move over to Eastern Virginia because we didn't do that properly last week.
Oh, we did not do it properly. You're correct.
Yeah, I was kind of pissed about that.
I know, that's the one stream you actually tell your
I
kids
don't want to
to
get
watch,
blamed.
right?
Yeah, that's the one stream that my kids are supposed to regularly listen to because even though you guys scream at each other, they learn shit.
And I thank you very much for that. We do put some effort in, and I think MC and I's back and forth when it comes to the Civil War is really beneficial because you don't have enough of that back and forth anymore. You have one type of history when it comes to it, and you don't get to see the other side, if you know what I'm saying.
Yep. But yeah. So Sharadi, I think it's your turn for last final words.
My final words on the police thing?
Yeah.
I think the argument was dumb and it gave me a headache. But I said my 2 cents on that already.
Well, all right.
I'm pretty sure everybody got my 2 cents because I was screaming it.
Well, I mean, either way, you can. This is a time that you can just kind of summarize what you wanted to. It's the ending paragraph of a 3-page essay, so to speak.
How about I love everybody in this room very, very much, and I'm gonna tell I'm mad to his wife, and he's gonna get in so much trouble.
All right. Well, straight Sith male. What are your final thoughts on the whole thing?
What are we talking about? Are we talking about the police?
Where are
Yeah.
What's going on? Talking to me. Where are these
the
voices coming
The whole
from?
police thing.
Do you know the way?
Do you know the way?
I do know the way. No, but yeah, I think there is a problem with the police, but I think there's a problem with citizens as well.
Yeah, I could see that.
Well, straight Sith male. To elaborate on that a little bit more, do you mean citizens actually reporting the police and
or
we're not listening to them, kind of like the guy in Arizona that we argued about.
Yeah, now that's actually even funny, isn't it? Considering they don't want body cams on officers now. BLM, Black Lives Matter, don't want body cams on officers. To me, that's fucking weird, right?
Yeah, that's endangering them. But at the same time, I believe that the officers should not have. Whenever they're putting that on, they should not have any right to turn it off.
Damn Skippy. I agree 100% that body cam should be that should be a must. 100%. You
we should
have
put
to
body
have
cam.
body.
We should have body cams. We should have body cams on the politicians.
That's funny.
Well, no,
Yeah.
I think that they should just have the labels on them of
Well, yeah, you're gonna have the advertising. Yeah, you're gonna have your sponsors.
yeah.
Yeah, and you know the bullshit, the fucking nonsense of only black people get screwed with while they're driving because they're black. That's bullshit. That's absolute bullshit. I've been pulled over for being white. All right.
Cabbage is right though. We really do need to put body cameras on politicians because one of the problems we're having from them is the fact that they lack transparency. We're actually doing. We could see how they were actually acting. They would act a whole hell of a lot better.
I wasn't being facetious. I mean it. I really do. I think if anyone should have them, it should be them. We're some of the most deviant bastards as well.
Yeah.
Well, no, and if you're talking about filing and stuff like that, I grew up in a small town. And was about 4,000 people. So the school cop knew my goddamn name. You know what I mean? Whenever he saw me out, he searched me all the way up until I moved.
Dodge, I told you I grew up in a small town. Dude, okay, this is how small of a town it was. My probation officer was my dad's probation officer's son.
That's hilarious. God damn it.
No, I'm not fucking joking, dude. Like, not at all. I got in trouble because I because I used a firearm in public.
Just shot a cop. You know, there's gonna be ramifications for those sort of actions.
Fuck you, Cabbage.
Well, as long as you didn't kill the younglings, straight Sith male.
That's exactly what I did. No, I fired a bullet in the air because there was a fat Native American piece of shit coming after me trying to beat me up, and I fired a bullet. And, well, he figured really quickly that, rather get shot in the face or run away. Run away was a better idea. Am I an asshole? Yes. But you know what? He deserved it.
Yeah. I've had to pull a gun a total of twice. And,
Yeah.
well, I mean, one of them I don't consider it pulling because all I did was just unbutton it and leave it in the holster.
Yeah.
But the way that I did it... What?
I had to pull a gun once, and the Mexican mafia showed up at my door because my roommate was a piece of shit. And right after I found out he was a fucking dope dealer, I moved out.
Yeah. But,
the Mexican mafia showed up because he owed them money.
one of the times I was...
I did it, and they backed off immediately. Imagine that.
One of them, I was helping a couple of my friends with their kids and trick or treating and stuff, and I'm sitting there, and I had like the shoulder holster and everything else, and it
So
was.
are you talking about like a revolver or something, or like?
No, it was just a standard 9. Like, it wasn't anything, like, huge or anything. But, like, what had happened was I saw this guy, like, coming up with a knife. And I'd noticed that it wasn't a fake knife. And, they started coming up, and I go, dude, the way that they were pacing, like, how fast that they were trying to go, it didn't, So I said, I pulled my coat back and showed him, and I said, "You lose." And then he started, coming up a little bit faster, and I unbuckled it, and I said, "You lose. Don't make me pull it." And then he hustled away. Like,
No, and
the
I think
moment.
that's the real big difference when you're looking at how they grew up. Okay, so you do have the poor class where you have the drug violence and shit. Then you also have the military where they had to deal with stuff a little bit different, like MC and Jensen. Average, right? You were in the military.
No, for a short period, very short.
So you're trained to deal with it, but as a civilian, you're not. And when somebody shows up at your door threatening your family, it does take balls to cock that shotgun and look at him and be like, "Yeah, take one more step, dude." Like, then I'm blowing your brains out.
Yeah.
I mean, there is a difference between that and a battle situation, right, MC?
Well, yeah, the thing is, I mean, troops are trained for a different scenario, unless you're looking at sort of, I mean, now we sort of mix the positions, which is, I don't think is a good idea.
You're right, Cabbage, and that is a problem. And you're right about that, too. It is a different situation. Although, this goes back to benefit of the doubt issues to begin with, right? In the military, they're already armed. They're already the enemy. That's where the doubt is.
Yeah,
you don't go in with the attitude that they're not the enemy.
Yeah.
Oh, what do you mean by that, MC? Where you're looking at maybe an enemy combatant you don't necessarily know compared to somebody showing up at your door, that's a fucking criminal. Comparison.
He's going to say, well, what about the police when they come bashing the door in?
Well,
I can see where that question's going.
But notice when I told you that story, I didn't say I called the cop.
Yeah, but we're going on again. this would keep going on that. But yeah, there are different scenarios in that.
Oh yeah, the thing is, sorry about that. I had to change the battery.
Yeah.
No, you gotta when you're in that kind of environment, if it's a battle, if you can't identify it as a friend, it's automatically assessed as an enemy, and you treat it as such.
That's right. It's a simple friend or foe mentality with the army. Well, apart from how they're now skewing the roles, which.
Yeah. But I mean, I kind of got a little bit of a flashback from doing that because of like, you know, it was a very, very high speed type of thing for me to do. And the only thing that came out of my mouth to him was, "You lose." Like, dude, just don't make me pull it. I'm showing you I have it. Don't make me pull it.
Oh no, and the thing is, to wrap this all back up and look at, the whole police issue. If the police are not supposed to necessarily protect you, then you have to protect yourself. Need the Second Amendment. If I didn't own a shotgun when those guys showed up at my door,
Oh yeah,
I mean seriously,
they would have roughed you up. That's exactly how it would have happened. They would have roughed you up, and then they would have tried to intimidate you, and it would have worked.
But I owned a shotgun, and I stood my ground. I cocked it, and I aimed it. And guess what? A shotgun does a lot of damage center mass. Believe me.
Yeah. And shotgun, you don't really need to. You don't need to aim a shotgun. You just need to point in the general direction, and the shell will do its work.
Yes and no. If you're using target shot or bird shot, yes, you're correct. But if you're using a slug, then you do have to aim.
Oh yeah, with a slug, you gotta aim a little bit.
Even then, fuck a slug. Put rock salt in that motherfucker.
Oh yeah, rock salt hurts like a son of a bitch.
Don't use rock salt. Use double up bucket. Be done with it.
Ooh.
Yeah. Fair enough, MC. But I have been shot by a 22, mind you. I have been stabbed, and I have had a beer bottle broken over my head.
What makes such a dick?
But all right.
Okay.
Well.
The beer bottle might have been me being
But let's go ahead and wow, we have done a nice 3-hour stream. Thank you all so much. I'm gonna go ahead and get everything ready for the final deal. So now we're going to go ahead and say we'll see you next time, and I'm gonna give everybody a chance to just go ahead and say bye simultaneously. So later.
So check out the stream on Friday. We have another Civil War stream this weekend, and Sherardi, it will be better this time. You can go ahead and let your kids watch. It will be back to the normal Civil War stream, and I do enjoy doing the historical content. I really do. That was it. Please go and fucking check out Hoodie Demon. And MC only has 50 subscribers. Can you believe that? He's the star of the Red Eye stream. Are you kidding me? Like, they all tune in to watch you, MC, not me.
Please find me here. It's not a big issue.
Bye.
Hi everyone.